Chapter 3044. Senior Sister Xianhua. Zhen Yunzi said in a low voice, setting up the array is not something that can be done in a day. Even if the latest battle report comes in, it will still be the same. There won't be anything that we want. Unless the formation succeeds or fails, there won't be any new news. In short, no matter if it's a victory or a defeat, it's not something we want to see. Fairy Yarrowfeng of distant Thunder Palace sighed. Apart from waiting, there's nothing else we can do. For a moment, the entire Great Thunder Palace fell into its usual silence. Zhenhayu. Suddenly, Thunder Meng Immortal spoke. Disciple is here among the dozen or so palace masters on duty. Zhenhayu, the palace master of 100 Refining Palace, was taken aback and hurriedly bowed. You don't have to come to Great Thunder Palace tomorrow. Go to the Thunder Arena. Thunder Meng Daoist says indifferently, Xiao Hua has already asked this old man to be the witness. Although this old man cannot go, but I cannot let others bully my Thunder Palace's disciples. If you go and be the witness, you can also report the situation to us. Of course, the most important thing is to not let this matter blow up. Yes, disciple understands. Zhenhayu bowed and retreated to the back. Qian Fengju Fairy Xianhua glanced at Thunder Meng Immortal and said, You're the palace master of Heavenly Thunder Palace's Heavenly Thunder Palace and in charge of fights. This Thunder Arena is also your responsibility. You should go and take a look. I'd like to see how many disciples Xiao Hua can kill. Yes, a late Gold Core disciple hurriedly bowed, but there was some disapproval on his face. It's the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples' right to go to the Thunder Arena, but we can't let them do whatever they want. We can't let them make a big deal out of it. Especially, now is a critical time. Don't kill too many people. Fairy Xianhua added. Disciple understands. Qian Fengju naturally nodded. A battle on the Thunder Arena had attracted so much attention before it even started. This was probably the first time something like this had happened since the Imperial Thunder Sect was founded. The next day, in front of the Cosmos Thunder Palace's Temple of Life and Death, Zhuo Minghui and the others, who were led by the Cosmos Thunder Palace's disciples who wore respectful expressions but whose eyes were filled with unconcealable disdain, were stunned by the scene before them. Xiao Hua had previously entered the Temple of Life and Death of the Thunder Palace. He also knew that the majority of the deacons in the Temple of Life and Death were in the middle or late stage of the Foundation establishment realm. Ordinary disputes between disciples only required this deacon to step forward and open the Temple of Life and Death. Only disputes between Jindan stage disciples could possibly alarm the higher-level Jindan stage cultivators. Of course, just one Jindan stage cultivator of this level was more than enough. But now, in front of the triangular view of life and death that was completely different from Thunderclap Palace's view of life and death, there were actually 4 Jindan stage masters. Furthermore, to the left of these 4 core formation masters, there were also over a dozen late-stage Foundation establishment disciples. Unfortunately, although there were many core formation masters, other than Zhen Qing, who was standing at the very end, Xiao Hua didn't recognize any of the 3 core formation masters and the dozen or so late-stage Foundation establishment disciple. Zhuo Minghui, who was at the very front, didn't dare to be negligent. She took a few steps forward and bowed in greeting. Disciple Zhuo Minghui greets Senior Martial Brother He Yu and Senior Martial Brother Zhen Qing. Greetings to the 2 Senior Martial Brothers. That's right, even Zhuo Minghui didn't seem to recognize the other 2 Jindan stage masters. Hehe, Junior Martial Sister Minghui, you don't need to be so courteous. Xiao Hua, you and the others also get up. Zhenhayu raised his hand and said with a smile, Come, Minghui. This old man will introduce you to the 2 Senior Martial Brothers of Heavenly Thunder Palace. Yes, Zhuo Minghui hurriedly nodded. This is Qian Fengju, the Hall Master of Heavenly Thunder Palace's Hall Master of Diligent Thunder Hall. He's in charge of our Imperial Thunder Sect's Thunder Arena. Now, Senior Martial Brother Qian has received orders from Fairy Xianhua of Great Thunder Palace to come and judge this life and death battle. Zhenhayu pointed at the late-stage Jindan stage cultivator and said, Greetings to Hall Master Qian. Hearing that it was the Hall Master of Heavenly Thunder Palace, Zhuo Minghui was even more shocked. She hurriedly bowed again. Behind her, Xiong Yang, Xiao Hua and Kui Hongshan also respectfully bowed. This is Senior Martial Brother Chen Pingming of Heavenly Thunder Palace. He was invited by Martial Nephew Chen Yuhe to be the judge. Zhen Hayu pointed at the other middle stage Jindan stage cultivator and introduced him. Although Zhuo Minghui and the others were respectful towards Chen Pingming, it was only towards Senior Martial Brothers and Jindan stage cultivators. It couldn't compare to Chen Fengju. However, Chen Pingming didn't mind. He politely bowed and stood behind Chen Fengju again. In the end, Zhen Hayu said to Xiao Hua with a smile, "Xiao Hua, I presume you still don't know who this old man is?" "That's right. Senior Martial Uncle Zhen, this disciple didn't go to Heavenly Thunder Palace much after entering the Imperial Thunder Sect. Then, I went to the training and the Battle of Dao Sword. As for the teachers of Heavenly Thunder Palace, I really don't know many of them," Xiao Hua said with a smile. It was because of the Feather Immortal Assembly that this disciple met Senior Martial Uncle Zhen Qing. Zhen Hayu looked at Zhen Qing and laughed. It seems that this old man isn't as famous as the teachers of Heavenly Thunder Palace. Senior Martial Brother Zhen, you must be joking. Zhen Qing also laughed. Xiao Hua has been in Heavenly Thunder Palace ever since he entered the Imperial Thunder Sect. To be honest, I think that Xiao Hua is more suitable to be a disciple of Heavenly Thunder Palace. Junior Martial Brother Zhen is the one joking. Zhen Hayu waved his hand. How could Thunder Meng Zhenren let go of such an outstanding disciple like Xiao Hua? Then, Zhen Hayu said to Xiao Hua, this old man is the Hall Master of 100 Refinements Palace, Zhen Hayu. I'm here on the orders of Thunder Meng Zhenren to be your judge. Thank you, Senior Martial Uncle Zhen. Thank you, Senior Martial Uncle Zhen. Panic appeared on Xiao Hua's face. This junior was just joking. I didn't expect that martial ancestor really heard it. Hehe, it's not just the palace master who heard it. Zhen Hayu laughed mischievously. The other 5 palace masters also heard it. Otherwise, how could this old man be standing here? Ayo, then this is troublesome. Xiao Hua cried out in alarm. Oh, what's wrong? Zhen Hayu was startled and asked curiously. Xiao Hua said solemnly, yesterday, this disciple already said in my myriad Thunder Valley that every night, a challenge jade slip will be picked out. Before this disciple said this, there were only a few hundred challenge jade slips, seemingly less than 1,000. This morning, this disciple discovered that there are already 1,800 challenge jade slips. If the palace master is here to be the judge all the time, good gracious, that's a full 3 years. How should the affairs of 100 Refinements Palace be handled? Ha 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 Zhen Hayu laughed loudly. Ignorant child. Really arrogant. Among the dozen or so disciples of Heavenly Thunder Palace in the late stage of foundation establishment, a fat old man with a white face and no beard coldly snorted with an ugly expression. No matter, no matter. Zhen Hayu acted as if he didn't hear the words of the foundation establishment disciple and looked at Xiao Hua. This old man will stay in the life and death temple. You kill for a few days, this old man will stay for a few days. The affairs of 100 Refinements Palace are naturally taken care of by the Deputy Palace Master. However, Martial Nephew Xiao, you should be concerned about your Martial Uncle Chen. You have occupied the Life and Death Temple for 3 years, do others still want to use it? Unexpectedly, Chen Fengju also laughed and said, no matter, no matter. As long as Martial Nephew Xiao is not afraid of being exhausted to death, this old man will also guard the thunder field every day and not let others in. Thank you for your trouble, Martial Uncles. Xiao Hua seemed to be even more thick-skinned and bowed solemnly. Okay. Chen Fengju nodded slightly and stopped smiling. He looked up at the Life and Death Temple and said lightly, this old man hasn't judged a life and death duel for a long time. Right now, I don't know how many pairs of eyes are staring at the thunder field in front of the life and death temples of the other 7 great thunder palaces. Xiao Hua, Chen Yuhe, I'll give you the time it takes for an incense stick to burn to prepare. This old man is going to open the life and death temple. Yes, disciple understands at the same time that Xiao Hua agreed. The fat old man also bowed and answered. Xiao Hua. After Xiao Hua accompanied Zhuo Minghui and the others to the side, Zhen Qing walked over and said apologetically, Previously in Great Thunder Palace, this old man. Alas, this old man knows that you have been wronged, but this old man doesn't have the authority to discuss matters in Great Thunder Palace. I can't even say a single word for you, this old man. That day in Great Thunder Palace, Xiao Hua was unbearably angry and left with a flick of his sleeves. He simply didn't think that Zhen Qing would still be in Great Thunder Palace. Now that he heard Zhen Qing's words, he actually came specifically to explain this matter. Incomparably moved, he hurriedly bowed and said, "Martial uncle, you are too polite. Great Thunder Palace is not a place to speak out for justice. You being able to have the heart to defend your disciple is better than anything else. The Imperial Thunder Sect with you is the Imperial Thunder Sect in this junior's heart. Alas, actually, you don't have to be like this." Zhen Qing sighed. "Your contributions are the focus of the entire sect, and no one can erase them. You only need to do nothing, and there will naturally be a day when the truth comes to light. You being so rash, I'm afraid that you will ruin things." Alas, Martial Uncle Zhen Tilda. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to speak, the nearby Xiong also sighed and said, "Your thoughts are the same as this junior's. Actually, this junior feels that there are many things that you don't have to fight to understand. Sometimes, being muddle-headed is also a kind of happiness." However, junior martial brother Xiao didn't listen. Currently, only martial aunt is in charge of our 10,000 Thunder Valley. Haha, martial uncle Zhen, eldest martial brother. Xiao Hua smiled, a very brilliant smile, and said in a low voice, "If this was before the great battle of Dao and Sword, this junior might have had the same thoughts as you. Perhaps I would have swallowed this cowardice down. However, after the great battle, this junior has seen too many deaths, and also seen too many conspiracies. To say something heinous, this junior's actions during the great battle are enough to affect the outcome of the great battle. Since that's the case, why should this junior shrink back? Facing the sword cultivator's flying sword, facing the giant's long rod, facing the unknown hidden arrows, this junior isn't afraid, so who cares about the challenge of a few foundation establishment cultivators? What makes this junior the most uneasy is that countless low-level disciples died during the great battle of Dao and Sword. I don't know if the names of these low-level disciples will be remembered by our Imperial Thunder Sect or the other sects, but they died for the ideals in their hearts, for the sect in their hearts, for the heavenly Dao that they cultivated. They don't regret it, but what about other people? Perhaps in other people's eyes, they are chess pieces, they are bait, they are sacrificed to lure the sword cultivators to their death. This junior feels that it's not worth it for them. This junior is also a low-level disciple like them. This junior feels that I should let others know that although we are low-level disciples, our contributions cannot be erased. -11. Chapter 3045. Zhen Qing smiled bitterly. She looked at Zhen Hayu in the distance and said in a low voice, "What you said is too extreme. Actually, Hall Master Qian of Jade Archive Hall also explained it to me. Heh, isn't it just a bit of forbearance, a bit of suppression, allowing this junior to guard against arrogance and rashness? It's good for this junior's growth." Xiao Hua said somewhat disdainfully, "This junior feels that merit is merit, and mistakes are mistakes. There's no such thing as suppression. Besides, what makes you think that suppressing others is good for them? Just because he didn't allow others to stand out, he would definitely be able to do better in the future. Others have their own freedom. You don't have the right to affect others' freedom." At this point, Xiao Hua saw that Zhen Qing's expression was a little bad. He took a deep breath and said, "Martial uncle, I'm a little agitated. Forget it. Actually, I didn't say anything about the Great Thunder Hall. Even if that person came back, I didn't take credit for it. But then, thousands of chi refining disciples besieged my myriad Thunder Valley. I was really angry. From then on, I decided that I won't lower my head in front of anyone, no matter what." Zhen Qing sighed and said, "When an ordinary man is angry, blood will splash everywhere. Because of your anger, I don't know how many Imperial Thunder Sect disciples will bleed. Without blood, there will be no awareness. Without the fall of Sky Patrol City, there will be no awareness of the Taoist sect." Xiao Hua sneered, "Maybe when the news of the failure of the great battle of Dao and Sword comes, The cultivators of the 3 cultivation countries will really understand how unreasonable their arrogance is. You should be careful. Hearing this, Zhen Qing came to a sudden realization. The Xiaohua before her was no longer the Qi refinement disciple who had followed her to the Feather Immortal Assembly. After the baptism of the great battle of Dao and Sword, he had become a strong warrior. Although he had yet to condense his gold core, she could no longer convince him. Even Zhen Qing had a misconception that she might not be a match for Xiaohua with his confidence. In short, I thank Martial Uncle for your concern. Xiaohua knew that Zhen Qing was sincere and said with a smile, no matter what happens in the future, I will remember Martial Uncle's kindness. I'll remember. Zhen Qing smiled and looked at Zhen Hayu. Qian Fengju was already whispering to Zhen Hayu and was looking over. In fact, Xiaohua said so much, but the most important reason was that he couldn't say it. As a nameless nascent soul cultivator, how could he possibly lower his head to these foundation establishment disciples? His actions were also to pave the way for the revelation of John Doe's identity, Martial Nephew Xiao. As expected, Zhen Hayu called out loudly from afar, "Are you ready?" Second senior brother. Kui Hongshan, who had been silent all this while, could not help but whisper, "If it doesn't work, let's bear with it. There's no way out of enduring." Xiaohua laughed, "Fight. Only then would there be a way out. Besides, do you think your senior brother is someone who would rather die than submit?" Ha 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 ha. Seeing Xiaohua actually winking at him, Kui Hongshan smiled. That's right, he was too worried. Eldest senior brother and master's wife didn't know Xiaohua's cultivation, but how could he not know? How could someone who could kill Qin Jian and Tu Hong be afraid of a foundation establishment cultivator? The one who should be worried should be this unlucky bastard from the Heavenly Thunder Palace. Martial Uncle Zhen, this junior is ready, Xiaohua said loudly. All right, wait for me. Qian Fengju waved his hand indifferently, indicating for Xiaohua and Qian Yuhe to come closer. You all know the rules of the Thunder Arena, right? Yes, this junior knows. The two said in unison. Good, then this old man will not say much. You two sign the life and death contract. This old man will open the view of life and death. Qian Fengju clapped his hands, taking out a red and blue life and death contract. After waiting for the two to sign their tokens, Qian Fengju carefully put them away, opened the triangular view of life and death, and said indifferently, "You all can go in. Senior brother Qian is older. Please go first." Xiaohua looked at Qian Yuhe, who had a somewhat disdainful expression, and said with a smile. Who would have thought that Qian Yuhe would shake his head? Junior brother Xiao should go first. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to enter this view of life and death again in the future. Today, this old man cannot steal your limelight. All right. Xiaohua was not angry, and said with a smile, if senior brother Qian doesn't steal this Xiao's limelight, then this Xiao will also not steal senior brother Qian's limelight. When senior brother Qian's name is known throughout the Imperial Thunder Sect, don't forget to thank this Xiao. After saying that, Xiaohua lifted his foot and entered the red mirror, not allowing Qian Yuhe to say anything. Qian Yuhe looked at Xiaohua's figure disappearing in the mirror, and coldly snorted, when this old man's name is known throughout the Imperial Thunder Sect, I will naturally burn incense for junior brother Xiao. You can rest assured about this. After saying that, he did not know if Xiaohua heard him, and also rushed into the blue mirror. When Xiaohua stepped into the mirror, his vision also turned black, and the teleportation pressure came from all directions. After a moment, the teleportation pressure disappeared, and a faint red light barrier appeared in front of Xiaohua. Xiaohua moved his gaze away from the lightning on the light barrier, and looked into the distance. As before, the space was bright red, and nothing could be seen clearly. Qian Yuhe, Xiaohua, according to the usual practice, after 10 breaths, an illusion will appear in the Thunder Arena. As for what illusion, this old man does not know. You can do whatever you want in this illusion, and all magic tools and magic treasures will not be affected. Qian Fengju's voice came from the sky. If 2 or 1 of you die, then 1 of you will die. Or if 1 of you admits defeat and the other accepts. Otherwise, you can't leave the Thunder Arena. This old man has not judged a life and death battle for many years, but today, I will make an exception for you. Your fight, not only this old man, junior brother Zhan Hayu, and junior brother Qian Pingming can see it, but also the disciples of the other 7 lightning palaces gathered in the Life and Death Temple can see it. You can rest assured, even if the 2 of you do not speak, this old man, and dozens of disciples from the other palaces will act as witnesses for you. Alright, this old man will not say any more. This old man wants to see who will be the last disciple to leave the Thunder Arena. After Qian Fengju finished speaking, in a moment, Xiao Hua's eyes lit up. Although this light was extremely dazzling, Xiao Hua only slightly squinted his eyes, and did not close them like last time. Hiss, this is. Xiao Hua squinted his eyes, roughly looked around, and sucked in a breath of cold air. But in front of him was a vast expanse of yellow sand, as far as the eye could see, and the setting sun was hanging in the sky. What hit him in the face was a dry and earthy smell, as well as a biting cold wind whistling in all directions. Desert. Xiao Hua had just thought of this when a gust of wild wind came from about 100 zhong away. At first, that gust of wind was only as thick as a thumb, but in a moment, it grew to several zhong in size. The wild wind rolled up the yellow sand, and directly sucked the yellow sand into the sky, unexpectedly forming a several hundred zhong tall sandstorm pillar. The entire sky, as well as the setting sun, was covered by the yellow sand. Zilolo, there was another burst of noise, and countless lightning bolts were born outside the sandstorm pillar. An extremely arrogant voice came from the sandstorm pillar and lightning. Chen Yuha's fat figure also appeared in the yellow sand. Xiao Hua, your cultivation level is at the middle stage of the Foundation Establishment realm, and this old man is at the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. Therefore, this old man will not take advantage of you, and will absolutely not launch a sneak attack. This old man will let you make the first move. Xiao Hua laughed. Although he still had not seen Chen Yuha's magic treasure, it was clear that Chen Yuha not only had the thunder attribute physique commonly seen among the disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Palace, but also had a wind attribute magic treasure. In this desert, he was the nemesis of his fire attribute magic. But did Xiao Hua have the fire attribute physique when he entered the Imperial Thunder Sect? Since senior martial brother Qian is so modest, then this Xiao will not be polite. After Xiao Hua finished laughing, he softly responded. He also did not take out a magic treasure. His hands rubbed together, and the magic power in his body surged as he struck out one spell after another. Rumble tilde, the entire yellow sand ground trembled. Near the wild wind, in the space of several dozen zhong, several dozen sandstorm pillars, each as thick as a bowl, rose from the ground and pounced towards Chen Yuha like pythons. Hey! Junior martial brother Xiao, you unexpectedly looked down on this Chen. Chen Yuha saw that Xiao Hua actually did not take out a magic treasure, and sneered, then this Chen will not be polite. When your blood stains the yellow sand, you must remember, in your next life, be a bit more tolerant. As Chen Yuha's voice fell, the soaring sandstorm pillar suddenly fell, unexpectedly transforming into a several zhong large hand of yellow sand that fell towards Xiao Hua and the surrounding sandstorm pillars. Immediately, the wind within several dozen zhong of space calmed down, and the yellow sand also came to a standstill. It seemed that even a corner of Xiao Hua's daoist robe floated up, unable to move. Including the Heavenly Thunder Palace, within the Life and Death Temple of the 8 Great Thunder Palaces, the several dozen cultivators watching the battle were all disdainful. A Heavenly Thunder Palace disciple familiar with Chen Yuha even said, "Yuha, what are you doing? Why did you suddenly use the wind condensing claw? Moreover, you even used your true essence to use a secret technique. Is this the hand of a nascent soul actually something that a mid-foundation establishment disciple can withstand? It's really an unfair victory." Even Zhuo Minghui and Xiong Yang's faces paled. That's right, this is the hand of a nascent soul. Even Zhuo Minghui, who is as strong as a gold core, cannot use it. Although Xiao Hua's cultivation is strong, how could he be a match for the hand of a nascent soul? It seemed that at this moment, in everyone's eyes, Xiao Hua was already a dead man, someone who was about to be crushed into meat paste by the wind condensing claw. Ha ha ha. You want to take this Xiao's life with just this specious hand of a nascent soul? Chen Yuha, you are really too naive. Xiao Hua looked at the space imprisoned by the so-called hand of a nascent soul as well as the several dozen sandstorm pillars that could not be moved. He laughed loudly, no longer urging his magic power to contend against the hand of a nascent soul. His entire body flashed with a blue light, and his entire body floated, like a wisp of blue smoke, soaring into the sky. Not only did he avoid the control of the hand of a nascent soul, but he also rushed to the left of the sandstorm pillar. Ah! This! What kind of flying technique is this? Seeing Xiao Hua's ghost-like shadow, as well as his appearance in the wind like a fish in water, even Qian Fengju was stunned. He somewhat doubtfully looked at Zhen Haoyu. It seems to be the flowing cloud movement technique. -11. Chapter 3046. I don't know. Zhen Haoyu shook his head. However, even if Xiao Hua has this strange flying technique, it will still be difficult for him to escape from Qian Yuha's magic treasure. Although this so-called nascent soul's hand is far inferior to a real nascent soul's hand, the sealing power is born from magic power. Xiao Hua is only in the middle stage of foundation establishment. If he doesn't have an effective magic treasure, I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to resist. Let's see Xiao Hua's magic treasure. Qian Fengju naturally saw Xiao Hua's shortcomings with a glance. Just as the two golden core cultivators were discussing in low voices, the situation on the Thunder Arena changed greatly. But seeing Xiao Hua's figure strangely approaching the wind pillar, Qian Yuha, who was inside the wind pillar, simply disdained him and even sneered in his heart. He pointed his finger at the magic treasure with 5 fingers inside the wind pillar above his head, preparing to send out a wave of magic power to meet Xiao Hua's attack. Just as he urged his magic power and before the wind condensing claw could be activated, Xiao Hua's figure suddenly flew towards the sky. However, following his figure, dozens or even hundreds of yellow talismans fell like cotton. Yellow talismans? Really funny. Qian Yuha almost laughed out loud. He really didn't think that in a life and death battle between Foundation establishment cultivators, someone would use yellow talismans. However, he still didn't dare to be negligent. He urged his magic power and yellow sand gushed out like a fountain, blocking the yellow talismans. Rumble tilde tilde. As soon as the magic power of the wind condensing claw touched the yellow talismans immediately exploded. Dozens or even hundreds of fireballs violently exploded, blasting the fountain-like yellow sand into pieces. What kind of yellow talisman is this? Qian Yuha somewhat understood Xiao Hua's scheme. However, before he could urge his magic treasure again, another round of fireballs exploded around him. The lightning on the surface of the wind pillar protecting Qian Yuha was instantly shaved off by 40%. This fireball talisman is too powerful. At this moment, Qian Yuha wasn't afraid in his heart. He only lamented the power of Xiao Hua's fireball talismans. Rumble tilde. Xiao Hua's fireball talismans seemed to be endless, surrounding Qian Yuha and scattering them. Everyone outside the life and death temple was somewhat dumbfounded. They really didn't understand Xiao Hua's intentions. However, Xiong, who was taught a lesson by Xiao Hua's fireball talismans in the past, somewhat understood Xiao Hua's thoughts. Eat this Xiao's staff. Qian Yuha's figure rapidly flew towards the sky. Just as he was about to dodge this round of fireball talismans, he heard Xiao Hua's angry roar. He hurriedly scanned the area with his divine sense. Indeed, Xiao Hua was holding a huge spiked club in his hand, and the spiked club was the nascent soul's hand. Wu tilde. A mournful wind howled. Boom. The nascent soul's hand was actually smashed into pieces by the spiked club. Following the destruction of the nascent soul's hand, Xiao Hua's figure didn't stop at all as he rushed towards Qian Yuha's head. A powerful force enveloped Qian Yuha from afar. Qian Yuha was greatly alarmed as he hurriedly used his wind-congealing claw to block the mace. Lightning flashed around his body as he clearly wanted to use his lightning evasion to escape from this shocking strike. Rumble tilde. Just as his figure flashed, dozens of fireballs appeared, shaking his body. Peng tilde. A loud sound that shook the heavens and the earth resounded. The magic treasure, wind condensing claw, was actually struck down by the spiked club. Its brilliance was extremely dim, and it was obvious that it had suffered damage. What shocked everyone the most was that Chen Yuhe's figure was actually sent tumbling in midair by a fireball talisman. Not only was he in an extremely sorry state, even his complexion was pale. How could a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator catch the jade talisman that Xiao Hua hid inside the fireball talisman without any preparation? Oh no! Chen Fengju was greatly alarmed as he glanced at Chen Pingming at almost the same time. Chen Pingming was also shocked. My life is over. Even Chen Yuhe's blood and qi were surging due to the fireball talisman. Coupled with the wind congealing claw being damaged, his meridians were also damaged. His heart turned pale with fright. You can go to hell. Xiao Hua, who was in midair, let out a sinister laugh. He waved his left hand, and a flaming flying carpet rushed to Chen Yuhe's head. Chen Yuhe's quintessential essence quickly moved to resist. However, just as his quintessential essence surged, it was immediately wrapped up by the flaming carpet and could only barely move. Rumble tilde tilde dozens of yellow talismans flew out, shaking Chen Yuhe, who was unable to use his magic power, until he was continuously rolling under the flaming carpet. However, no matter how he rolled, he was unable to escape from the flaming carpet's range. Moreover, as the fireballs exploded one after another, the protective brilliance around Chen Yuhe's body became increasingly faint. Boom. In the midst of the explosion, countless flames sprang out from the flaming carpet and surrounded Chen Yuhe. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the brilliance around Chen Yuhe's body was extinguished, and his daoist robe was also unexpectedly burned. When the daoist robe fell to the ground, Chen Yuhe's arms, legs, neck, and a small part of his back that were as white as a female cultivator's. The other places were covered by a protective magic treasure. It was unknown whether Xiao Hua's flaming carpet couldn't burn them, or if Xiao Hua didn't deliberately burn them. Chen Yuhe tilde do you want to die or live? Xiao Hua urged the flames to burn Chen Yuhe's protective magic treasure as he coldly said. This old man. Chen Yuhe was somewhat hesitant. That's right, who would want to die? However, now that he had been humiliated to such an extent by Xiao Hua, how could he shrink back? Fine, since you don't want to live, this Xiao will fulfill your wish. Xiao Hua urged the flames and coldly said, this Xiao will first break your protective magic treasure, then burn you to ashes. This old man is willing to live. Hearing that Xiao Hua actually wanted to burn his final magic treasure, Chen Yuhe couldn't bear it anymore. The humiliation at that time was 100 times more humiliating than now. Moreover, there were other cultivators in the life and death temple of the 8 great lightning palaces watching. Which tilde you should have done this long ago tilde Xiao Hua sneered. His left hand hooked, and the spiked club smoothly swung out, hitting Chen Yuhe's slightly fat buttocks. Chen Yuhe's physical body flew out from the flaming carpet with a whoosh, turning into a shooting star that charged into the yellow sand, landing somewhere unknown. Martial Uncle Zhen. Xiao Hua put away the spiked club and the flaming carpet, not even looking at where Chen Yuhe went. He could only bow and say, Chen Yuhe admits defeat, this junior also doesn't want his life. Please be the witness, I request Hall Master Chen to open the life and death temple. Everyone was dumbfounded. No one would have thought that this would be the outcome. Maybe some people thought that Xiao Hua would win. Maybe some people thought that Xiao Hua would establish his might and kill Chen Yuhe in the Thunder Arena, but no one thought that Xiao Hua would win in this way. Not to mention those disciples who thought that Chen Yuhe would win early on. However, with Xiao Hua's way of handling things, even if he didn't kill Chen Yuhe, what was the difference between that and killing Chen Yuhe? For a moment, those disciples who had already sent out the challenge jade slips and came to watch today felt somewhat disdainful in their hearts. They all had a kind of I would rather die feeling in their hearts, feeling that Chen Yuhe was too cowardly. However, when this kind of mournful feeling emerged, everyone suddenly stared blankly. That's right, even if you die, you won't surrender. But if you don't surrender, even if you don't surrender, Xiao Hua will burn your daoist robes, burn your personal magic treasures, and expose your secrets in front of the crowd of onlookers. This kind of humiliation, even if you die, you won't be able to wash it clean. Even if you die, your face, your dignity in front of your disciples, your image in front of your fellow Taoists, will forever be a laughingstock, right? Then, in this kind of situation, will you die? Or will you suffer this kind of humiliation? A kind of indescribable shudder involuntarily emerged from their hearts. All the cultivators looked at each other in dismay. Outside the Heavenly Thunder Palace's Temple of Life and Death, Zhenhayu's face carried an indescribable expression as he looked at Qian Fengju and Qian Pingming of the Heavenly Thunder Palace. These two golden core cultivators of the Heavenly Thunder Palace had ugly expressions. Qian Yuhe's skin was exposed. Although it was Xiao Hua who slapped Qian Yuhe's face, this slap also hit the Heavenly Thunder Palace's face. It was even worse than killing Qian Yuhe. In their hearts, the two really hoped that Xiao Hua would happily kill Qian Yuhe instead of humiliating him like this. However, they didn't seem to have anything to say. After all, in the whole fight, Xiao Hua's performance was very normal. Although Xiao Hua didn't bring out the fire carpet at the beginning, that was because Xiao Hua was only a middle foundation establishment cultivator. He was afraid that his magic power wouldn't be able to defeat the late foundation establishment Qian Yuhe, so he chose to use the common fireball talisman. Of course, Xiao Hua's fireball talisman was really powerful, especially the fireball that could make a late foundation establishment cultivator tumble. This somewhat exceeded the two's expectations. However, the two didn't discover anything unusual about this fireball through their divine senses. As for Xiao Hua using the wolf tooth club to defeat Qian Yuhe's magic treasure, the wind condensing claw, that was even more normal. Xiao Hua's divine power had already been revealed during the Feather Immortal Assembly. What made the two most embarrassed and speechless was that Xiao Hua used the fire carpet and the fireball talisman to burn Qian Yuhe's Daoist robe. After all, Xiao Hua was a middle foundation establishment cultivator. It was somewhat difficult for him to destroy the protective magic treasure of the late foundation establishment Qian Yuhe, so he could only wear it down a little bit. During this process, the Daoist robe was inevitably burned. Of course, normally, when the Daoist robe was burned, the protective magic treasure would also be destroyed. Qian Yuhe would either die or counterattack, so his skin wouldn't be exposed. However, it was still that sentence. Who told Xiao Hua's magic power to be insufficient? Being able to burn the Daoist robe was already not bad. If the protective magic treasure was also burned, then Xiao Hua could only be given more time, and during this time, Qian Yuhe's privacy would be exposed at a glance. Of course, the two were also somewhat baffled. Why didn't Qian Yuhe struggle or counterattack during the process of his Daoist robe being burned? However, they also wouldn't ask because Xiao Hua already planned to attribute the power of imprisonment to the magic treasure, the fire carpet. Our magic treasure is formidable and can imprison a cultivator with a higher realm than us. What's so strange about this? As for Xiao Hua's wind evasion, the Imperial Thunder Sect's forte was the lightning evasion. If any disciple could comprehend it by analogy and obtain another opportunity, who could say anything? Even in the 8 great thunder palaces, it wasn't as if there weren't any disciples who understood the wind evasion. -11. Chapter 3047. In short, Xiao Hua's difficult victory, and the humiliation Qian Yuhe suffered during this difficult process left both of them speechless. They wouldn't blame Xiao Hua for hitting Qian Yuhe's fat buttocks instead of killing him. Qian Fengju's face darkened. He looked at Qian Pingming and asked loudly, "Junior brother Qian, you're Qian Yuhe's witness. Do you have any objections?" "I think." Qian Pingming thought for a while and said, "Xiao Hua is only a disciple in the middle stage of foundation establishment, and he had just entered foundation establishment when he entered the Taoist sword battle. That is to say, Xiao Hua entered the middle stage of foundation establishment in a dozen years, which is a rare disciple in our thunder controlling sect. However, he just entered the middle stage of foundation establishment, and his spiritual power is comparable to a disciple in the late stage of foundation establishment. I think it's a bit strange. Junior brother Zhen, what do you think?" Qian Fengju asked Zhenhayu. Zhenhayu raised his eyebrows and said with a faint smile, I don't think it's strange. At the very beginning, Xiao Hua used a yellow talisman to face the enemy, while Qian Yuhe used a transcendent artifact from the very beginning, congealing the so-called Yuanying hand. Xiao Hua avoided the sharp edge of the attack, and in the end, he suppressed the enemy. His transcendence energy might not be comparable to Chen Yuhe's, but it's normal for him to use it appropriately, especially Xiao Hua's magic weapon. Chen Yuhe's magic weapon can form the nascent soul hand, and Xiao Hua's fire blanket can confine the spiritual power of a disciple in the late stage of foundation establishment. How about this? If junior brother Chen thinks it's inappropriate, don't let Xiao Hua and Chen Yuhe come out. Let them fight to the death. Ahem. Junior brother Zhen, Chen Fengju glanced at Zhen Haiyu with displeasure and coughed. Our thunder-controlling sect lost many disciples in the Taoist sword battle. Now, we don't know if the tens of thousands of disciples in Sky Patrol City are dead or alive. Now, every disciple of our thunder-controlling sect is extremely precious. How can we lose one just like that? It's rare for Xiao Hua to stop while he's ahead. Since the outcome has been decided, why must there be a fight to the death? The thunder field doesn't restrict life and death, but it doesn't have to be a fight to the death. Yes, I know. Senior Marshal Brother Chen is in charge of the diligent Thunder Hall. It is precisely because you understand the essence of the competitive Thunder Plane. I am enlightened. Zhen Haiyu hurriedly bowed and said with a smile, since Xiao Hua has already won, it's easy for I to act as a witness. I'll listen to Senior Marshal Brother's instructions. Good, since the two notaries have no objections, I declare Xiao Hua the winner. Chen Fengju said. Zhen Haiyu and Chen Pingming looked at each other and nodded. Xiao Hua, who was in the Thunder Arena, was already muttering in his heart. He remembered that when he defeated Yang Xiefeng for the first time on the Thunder Arena, his view of life and death was quickly opened. Could it be this time? Do we really have to fight to the death? Xiao Hua coldly thought as he stared at the sand-covered illusion. Fortunately, a moment later, a red and blue brilliance flashed, and a door to the Temple of Life and Death opened. Xiao Hua turned his head and looked into the distance. He was too lazy to release his divine perception. Who cared about Chen Yuhe's life and death? He stepped into the red brilliance with a lift of his foot. Immediately, the red and blue brilliance of the Temple of Life and Death flourished, abruptly filling the entire heaven and earth. The entire sand-covered illusion collapsed with a rumbling sound, and everything disappeared in the red and blue light. Just like last time, Xiao Hua's eyes lit up, and his figure appeared in front of the triangular Temple of Life and Death. Chen Fengju and Zhen Haiyu met him, and that Chen Pingming had already disappeared. Xiao Hua looked around. Not only had Chen Pingming disappeared, even the dozen or so Foundation establishment cultivators who came with Chen Yuhe had also disappeared. Disciple greets the two hall masters. Xiao Hua bowed and thanked them. Many thanks to the two seniors for their notaries. En. Chen Fengju nodded, seemingly encouraging him. Xiao Hua, I'm very gratified that you were able to hold back at the crucial moment and not take Chen Yuhe's life as I thought. Hall Master Zhan and I will report everything that happened today to the Great Thunder Hall. Xiao Hua's face was filled with panic as he said in astonishment, Junior's matter actually alarmed the Great Thunder Hall. I really deserve to die. I ask the two Hall Masters to report this to the Great Thunder Hall and not take this matter as Junior's fault. Right, does Hall Master Darren feel that Junior was wrong? Chen Fengju didn't like Xiao Hua's eccentricity, and said indifferently, is it your merit or your fault? Both were judged by the Great Thunder Hall. I only judge the outcome of the Thunder Arena. Oh, that's good. Xiao Hua let out a sigh of relief, and said to himself, since it's like this, Junior will choose another challenge from the Jade Slips tonight. It's just that. Marshal Uncle Zhen, I'll have to trouble you to come to the Thunder Arena again tomorrow. No matter Zhen Haiyu said with a smile, which Thunder Hall's challenge letter you choose, just have the Gen Thunder Hall disciple inform me. I also want to see more of this extremely interesting life and death battle. Yes, Xiao Hua bowed, and the disciple understood. I'll have the disciple inform Marshal Uncle tonight. We'll return to the Great Thunder Hall to report to the Hall Master. Xiao Hua, you should also go back and rest. Thousands of disciples' Daoist robes will be stripped by you, so you should properly conserve your energy. Zhen Haiyu said to Xiao Hua with a smile, then raised his hand to signal Chen Fengju to leave the Temple of Life and Death together. Chen Fengju nodded. After taking 2 steps, he seemed to have thought of something, and turned his head, saying, "Are there any disciples from the Heavenly Thunder Hall, Mythical Thunder Hall, Zun Thunder Hall, or Converging Thunder Hall in the challenge Jade Slips?" "Disciple doesn't know, disciple just randomly picked, whoever it is," Xiao Hua said with a smile. "Disciple's cultivation is like this, and disciple's physique is also of the fire attribute, so I can only use these methods. Burning the Daoist robes is also something that can't be helped." Hearing this, Qian Fengju didn't ask anymore, and quickly walked away. He. As soon as the two Jindan left, Kui Hongshan came over first, and gave a thumbs up with his right hand, saying with a smile, "Second senior brother, you're really good." Xiao Hua shrugged innocently, saying, "Junior brother Kui, I only have these few methods. The first time I went to the Thunder Arena to duel with an aura refining disciple, and this second time with a foundation building disciple is still the same. I also don't have any other choice. However, junior brother Kui, when you pick the jade slip of a challenger tonight, my myriad Thunder Valley should give them a friendly reminder, telling them to wear more Daoist robe." "Yes, junior brother understands. Junior brother will definitely give them a special reminder." Kui Hongshan's voice was very loud, and he answered very excitedly. On the side, Zhen Qing and Zhuo Minghui smiled bitterly when they heard this. They knew that this kind of method would offend people even more than killing them, but what better method was there? Xiao Hua returned to Myriad Thunder Valley from the Heavenly Thunder Palace under the escort of everyone. Along the way, several people were chatting and laughing, but the 8 great Thunder Palaces were once again boiling. This boiling was even more intense than last night's boiling. There were many people who were paying attention to this life-or-death duel. Of course, there weren't many cultivators who were able to witness it with their own eyes. However, before Xiao Hua returned to Myriad Thunder Valley, the result of this life-or-death duel, Chen Yuha's embarrassing state of defeat, and even this late-stage foundation-building cultivator's jade-white skin had already spread throughout the entire Imperial Thunder sect. Some people had even begun to forget about the great Dao sword battle that was far away from them, and placed their attention on this duel, as well as the duels that would be held every day in the future. When Xiao Hua and the others returned to Myriad Thunder Valley, Xiong Zhili and the others were already waiting outside the valley. Obviously, they had already received the news, and each of them was glowing with excitement. They were even more excited than if they had eaten spiritual pills. "Adoptive father." Xiong Zhili flew over from afar and shouted, "Boy, I thought you would definitely kill that guy, but I didn't expect you to be so soft-hearted and merciful. Moreover, it was just that guy's butt. If it was a boy, it would be strange if his butt wasn't swollen." Leah. Xiong looked at the Heavenly Thunder Palace disciples beside him and fiercely berated Xiong Zhili. "Is there anyone who speaks like that? Father, they forced my Myriad Thunder Valley, and they challenged adoptive father. What's wrong with this boy saying these things?" Xiong Zhili smiled and said, "Boy, this is still considered light. You don't know how many laughingstocks are circulating in Heavenly Thunder Palace right now. You shut up." Xiong berated, "If you have the ability, you can also go." Unfortunately, before he could finish speaking, Yang Qinglian hurriedly interrupted, "Husband, what are you saying?" Xiong also came to his senses. How could he hope for his son to go to the Thunder Plains? On the side, Zhuo Minghui was both happy and sighing. She was happy because based on Xiao Hua's bravery today, not to mention a challenge from 2,000 Foundation Establishment disciples, even if it was a challenge from 2,000 late-stage Foundation Establishment disciples, Xiao Hua would definitely be able to handle it. In other words, in the future, Myriad Thunder Valley would definitely not be looked down upon and bullied by others. Otherwise, if Xiao Hua said, go to the Thunder Plains, who would dare to go? However, he was worried because Xiao Hua's actions could be considered to have offended all 7 Heavenly Thunder Palaces. Myriad Thunder Valley's situation. Who knew what it would be like? Dui Chimeng, who had come to welcome them, seemed to have seen through Zhuo Minghui's misgivings. He flew to Zhuo Minghui's side and whispered, "Master's wife, don't worry. Our Myriad Thunder Valley has second senior martial brother's bravery, so no one will dare to bully us again. Moreover, besides second senior martial brother and eldest senior martial brother, don't we still have Hongshan and I? We will use second senior Marshall Brothers' fame to raise our myriad Thunder Valley's reputation in the Thunder Palace and even the Imperial Thunder Sect. Using carrots and carrots is the true way of life. Alas, this old one is indeed old. Zhuo Minghui pondered for a moment and knew that Dui Chimeng's words were true. She smiled bitterly and said, "Your master's temper is also not good. In the future, myriad Thunder Valley will depend on you. Don't worry, master's wife." Dui Chimeng then pointed at Li and Wu Qing and said with a smile, "There's also Li and Wu Qing. They seem to be more powerful than second senior Marshall brother when he was young. Our myriad Thunder Valley will definitely shake the Imperial Thunder Sect in the future." Alas, Wu Qing tilde when Wu Qing was mentioned, Zhuo Minghui saw that the others were all in high spirits. Only Wu Qing's expression remained indifferent. He was completely different from an ordinary youth. Zhuo Minghui sighed again. Right at this moment, Xiao Hua suddenly shouted, "That's right, Li tell the disciples of Thunder Palace that they don't have to be on duty tonight." "Ah, why?" Xiong Zhili was just happy when he suddenly froze. -11. Chapter 3048. Hihi, just do as foster father says. Xiao Hua chuckled and continued to instruct, "In addition, you will guard this outer valley at night. From now on, the challenge jade slips on the jade table will be worth 100 top-grade spirit stones. Remember, this is the only one, no bargaining." "Ha ha ha. Boy understands, boy understands." Xiong Zhili laughed, but then asked, "Isn't 100 spirit stones too little? It's too easy for them. How about 1,000 top-grade spirit stones? No need for so much, let's go slowly." Xiao Hua chuckled again, "Moreover, no one will be desperate enough to do anything." "Understood." Xiong Zhili somersaulted in the air, extremely excited. "Zhen Quan." Xiao Hua instructed again, "You wait outside Marshall Uncle's cave, and bring all the magic tools and cultivation methods that you are good at." At this point, Xiao Hua scratched his head, turned around and asked, "Eldest senior brother, junior brother Kui, you two don't have any objections, right?" No, we don't have any objections, none at all." Xiong Yang and Kui Hongshan came to their senses and hurriedly replied. "Good." Xiao Hua stretched and said in a long voice, "I'm bored, let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see if there are any shameless people who want me to strip them." "Yes, disciple thanks Marshall Uncle." Zhen Quan and the others also came to their senses at this time and hurriedly bowed. The eyes of the dozens of disciples were filled with excitement. Soon after, Xiao Hua returned to the cave. Zhen Quan and the others were waiting outside the cave. One by one, they went in. Xiao Hua checked their cultivations and asked them about their cultivation in detail. Some of them were bestowed with secret techniques, some were bestowed with magic treasures, and so on. Of course, for these disciples, Xiao Hua would not teach them the dragon transformation art, god traction art, and other secret techniques, but these pointers had already benefited these disciples greatly. Seeing them come out of the cave one by one and immediately fly away to find a place to cultivate, it was clear how much they had benefited. More than a dozen disciples, each one was checked, each one was taught according to their aptitude. For Xiao Hua, this was definitely the first time, and the time spent was not short. However, Xiong Zhili didn't come over to report during this period of time. Xiao Hua naturally understood that his plan of killing the chicken to scare the monkey had succeeded, so he simply ignored the matter of the bet. He had originally planned to slowly guide these disciples in their cultivation, but now he might as well guide them all at once. After waiting for the last disciple, Fan Yumming, to leave the cave mansion respectfully with a magic weapon, Xiao Hua got up from the jade bed and stretched his body. Looking at the dazzling array of cave mansions, he sighed and said, "Alas, that bastard Chen Diheng. I wonder how he is doing in the Sky Patrol City." His cultivation was only at the foundation establishment stage. Even if he was captured, nothing would happen to him. Furthermore, the sword cultivator had only killed Sage Shui and not Sage Quangtian. He had already seen through their intentions. As long as the sword cultivators were not forced to a dead end, their lives would be safe. "Brother, it's not that this Xiao doesn't want to save you. This Xiao really doesn't have the ability to do so. I hope you can live well, This Xiao still needs you to sell his rejuvenation pills. Immediately, Xiao Hua's divine sense swept out of the cave mansion. He smiled and said to himself, well, the matter of the bet is over. This Xiao can go into seclusion. With that, Xiao Hua walked out of the cave mansion. Xiong Zhili was standing respectfully outside the cave mansion. When he saw Xiao Hua, his face immediately showed admiration. He bowed and said, Godfather, this boy admires you to death. How did you know that these cultivators would definitely come to my myriad Thunder Valley? How did you know that these cultivators would definitely take out 100 top-grade spirit stones to exchange for the challenge jade slips? What's so difficult about that? Xiao Hua curled his lips. The humiliation of having your Taoist robe stripped off or 100 top-grade spirit stones, which would you choose? Besides, no one knew who had issued those challenge jade slips. Even if they came to take the jade slips, I'm afraid it's not them. And, the first to come will definitely be female cultivators. Hee hee. Xiong Zhili clapped his hands and said, Godfather has guessed it. At first, there were only a few fourth-layer aura refining female disciples, but when they heard that it was 100 top-grade spirit stones, they all turned back. In less than an hour, the aura refining disciples came one by one. Each of them took out spirit stones and transmitted their voice to the boy. One hand exchanged spirit stones, and the other hand exchanged jade slips. Just thinking about that kind of tacit cooperation makes the boy happy. In fact, the most difficult thing is the number of spirit stones. Xiao Hua said indifferently, without us, we wouldn't be willing, but with them, this 100 is the most appropriate. Moreover, Li you have to be careful in the future. Although you have something on these 1,800 foundation building masters and they will be afraid of you in the future, if there's a chance, they'll also harm you. Godfather's way of doing things has its advantages and disadvantages. Consider it a tempering for you. Don't blame Godfather. Xiong Zhili's heart trembled. He was only thinking about the hundreds of thousands of top-grade spirit stones and neglected a more important matter. However, after thinking about it, in this myriad Thunder Valley, besides Xiao Hua, he was the only one who could bear this heavy responsibility. He bowed and said, Boy understands Godfather's painstaking efforts. Boy knows how to deal with it. Good. Xiao Hua nodded. To become a Grandmaster in the lightning controlling sect or Xiaoyu continent, cultivation is one thing, but dealing with people and scheming are even more important. Godfather isn't good at scheming and only knows how to cultivate. I'm afraid he won't be able to achieve anything great. The matter of Myriad Thunder Valley depends on your martial Uncle Kui and you guys. Hehe, Godfather is too modest. Just looking at today's challenge jade slips. Boy's thinking is far worse than Godfather's, Xiong Zhili said with a smile. These are all minor details. They don't count for anything. Xiao Hua waved his hand. Godfather is just experienced and experienced a lot. He knows these things, that's all. Godfather knows, so naturally he can see through everything, Xiong Zhili said with a smile. You don't understand. Xiao Hua shook his head. This is nature. Some people like it, but although Godfather understands, Godfather isn't willing to do it. Godfather disdains to do it. With that, Xiao Hua raised his head and looked at the landscape of Myriad Thunder Valley. Even if Godfather is now the head of the lightning controlling sect, Godfather won't be willing. Godfather just wants to cultivate quietly. Hehe, Godfather, you're the one who has no desires. Xiong Zhili said and handed over the storage bag he had been carrying. Here are 150,000 top-grade spirit stones. Godfather, keep them well. TSK. 150,000 top-grade spirit stones. Xiao Hua glanced at the storage bag and didn't take it. Isn't it too easy to earn these spirit stones? If I had known, I would have delayed for a few more days. Hey, that's not right. 1,800 challenge jade slips, each of which costs 100 top-grade spirit stones. How come there are only 150,000 top-grade spirit stones? Hee. Xiong Zhili stuck out his tongue and said, Boy's friends from Zhenlei Palace came over. In addition, some female disciples from Lightning Palace looked really pitiful, So the boy acted on his own initiative. Ha ha ha, that's how it should be, that's how it should be. Xiao Hua clapped and laughed. He waved his hand and said, divide these spirit stones into 2 halves. Give 1 half to your father and the other half to your martial uncle Kui. Godfather, you should also leave some for yourself. Xiong Zhili wasn't surprised and said with a smile, Godfather is about to recruit disciples himself. You don't care about spirit stones, but your disciples also need them. Who said Godfather doesn't care about spirit stones? Xiao Hua glared at Xiong Zhili and said, Godfather is giving you spirit stones now. You're just helping him look after them. When Godfather needs them, he can ask you for them at any time. Hihi, boy knows. Xiong Zhili knew that Xiao Hua was just joking. Xiao Hua had brought back countless spirit stones, pills, and magic treasures during the Dao Sword War. It could be said that everything in the Myriad Thunder Valley belonged to Xiao Hua. These hundreds of thousands of spirit stones were nothing. However, just as Xiong Zhili was about to put the storage pouch back into his bosom, an indifferent voice was heard, second senior brother, there's an order from Great Thunder Hall. Mother ordered me to call you back. Xiao Hua raised his head and looked over. It was Wu Qing with an indifferent expression. What order? Xiao Hua stepped into the air and asked casually. Wu Qing shook his head, little brother doesn't know. The person who sent the order was dressed in a camouflage robe. He only said that there was an order from Great Thunder Hall, and that he had to wait until second senior brother went over before reading it out. Oh! Xiao Hua was greatly surprised, asking, did you check the person's token? It couldn't be someone else impersonating him, right? No. Wu Qing said concisely. That person is holding Great Thunder Hall's token. Alright Tilda, this is strange. The person who sent the order is actually so mysterious. Xiao Hua was bewildered, arriving at the Immortals' Cave first. Sure enough, at the head of the Immortals' Cave, there was a cultivator dressed in a camouflage robe. Xiao Hua's divine sense couldn't see through him. Zhou Minghui, Xiong Yang and the others accompanied him at the side. Disciple Xiao Hua greets martial uncle messenger. Xiao Hua knew that the other party was definitely a Jindan disciple, so he hurriedly bowed in greeting. Ien, Xiao Hua tilde that cultivator stood up, stretching out his hand and taking out a silk cloth from his bosom, saying loudly, this old man has come to pass on Great Thunder Hall's order. Disciple obeys. Xiao Hua lowered his head and replied. Shocking Thunder Hall's disciple Xiao Hua was arrogant due to his meritorious service, refusing to accept Great Thunder Hall's order of punishment. When returning to Myriad Thunder Valley, regardless of his status as a Foundation Establishment cultivator, he injured an aura-refining disciple. Furthermore, in spite of the current life and death crisis of our Imperial Thunder sect, he rashly provoked a fight, challenging the disciples of the 8 Great Thunder Palaces to a duel on the Thunder Plains. Although Xiao Hua performed meritorious service in the Great Sword Battle, he doesn't know right from wrong and doesn't know righteousness. Xiao Hua is specially punished to be on guard duty in Myriad Thunder Valley for 3 years, to go into seclusion and reflect on his mistakes. He is not allowed to take half a step out of Myriad Thunder Valley, and Xiao Hua is also punished to be deprived of his spirit stone supply for 3 years. This is to serve as a warning to others. Ah! Xiao Hua stared blankly, almost jumping up from the ground. This order of punishment was really inexplicable. It was already pretty good that he didn't kill these 1,800 cultivators, but not only did they not reward him, they even punished him. Wasn't this Great Thunder Hall really inverting black and white too much? Xiao Hua, do you have any objections? That cultivator said coldly. However, his voice had passed through the camouflage robe, so not much emotion could be heard from it. -11. Chapter 3049. I'm convinced, I'm convinced. Xiong Yang hurriedly shouted, and without waiting for Xiao Hua to speak, he ran to Xiao Hua's side. Xiao Hua, do you have any objections? That cultivator ignored Xiong Yang and continued to ask Xiao Hua. Forget it. Xiao Hua sighed and said very disheartenedly, Disciple doesn't have any objections. Disciple will accept any punishment from Great Thunder Hall. That's good. That cultivator nodded and suddenly asked, "How much spirit stones do you get for a year?" Xiao Hua was startled. Looking at that cultivator, he lazily shook his head and said with a sneer, "Whatever you want, it's my spirit stones that will be confiscated." "What does that have to do with you?" "Martial uncle," Xiong hurriedly said with a smile, "disciple knows. No need." That cultivator raised his hand and stopped Xiong, saying, "I only know that even with 3 years of spirit stones, I'm afraid it won't be 100 top-grade spirit stones, right?" Hee. Xiao Hua's mouth slightly curled. He glanced at this cultivator who pretended to be mysterious and didn't answer. "Zhuo Minghui, you all go out first. I have something to say to Xiao Hua." Then, that cultivator handed the punishment order from Great Thunder Hall to Xiao Hua and said to Zhuo Minghui and the others, "Yes, disciple understands." Zhuo Minghui naturally didn't dare to be negligent. She gave Xiao Hua a look, indicating for him to not get angry, and then led Xiong and the others out of the cave. After Zhuo Minghui and the others left, Xiao Hua still asked indifferently, "Does Senior have something to say to disciple alone?" That cultivator said with a smile, "Naturally, I have to thank junior brother Xiao for saving my life." Saying that cultivator removed the camouflage cloth. It was Chen Qinghua with a smile on his face. "Oh, so it's senior brother Qinghua." Seeing that it was Chen Qinghua, Xiao Hua didn't dare to be arrogant anymore. He hurriedly bowed and said, "I didn't know it was senior brother. I hope you can forgive me." "Hehe, it's fine, it's fine." Chen Qinghua hurriedly supported Xiao Hua and said, "I came here to thank you for your kindness. Because I can't tell anyone about my return to the Imperial Thunder Sect, I'm wearing a camouflage robe. It's normal that you don't know." With that, Chen Qinghua bowed to show his respect. How could Xiao Hua let him do that? He hurriedly supported her. However, Chen Qinghua didn't want to give up. He activated his magic power, and light flashed around him. He wanted to kneel. "Ha ha ha!" Xiao Hua laughed. "Senior brother Qinghua, if it was in the past, it would have been fine if you had bowed. But now, because of you, this little brother has entered the Imperial Thunder Sect, and because of the Thunder Devouring Pearl, this little brother has obtained the Sect Master's favor. Everything this little brother has now, including his cultivation, was bestowed upon me by senior brother. How could I possibly have you thank me?" Chen Qinghua activated his magic power, but saw that Xiao Hua's magic power didn't fluctuate at all. He still blocked him. He couldn't help but sigh. "Junior brother Xiao, back then, you were only a 4th-level qi refining loose cultivator, and I was already in the late stage of foundation building. Now, you're already in the middle stage of foundation building, and I'm still at the same cultivation level as a few decades ago. I don't even have the power to bow to you. Thinking about it, I'm ashamed. How many decades can a person have in life?" With that, Chen Qinghua stood up and sighed. "Senior brother Qinghua, you don't have to be so sad." Xiao Hua smiled. "Your great contribution is unique in the Imperial Thunder Sect. Even this little brother, and that mysterious Yuanian cultivator Wu Ming, can't compare." Others may not know, but how could this little brother not know? For the sake of the Imperial Thunder Sect, you made such a sacrifice. How could the Sect Master treat you badly? How could the Imperial Thunder Sect treat you badly? Besides, senior brother Qinghua has been dormant for dozens of years. The bottleneck of foundation building has long disappeared. If you want to break through to the Golden Core, I'm afraid it'll only take you 10 years. 10 years later, this little brother will still have to call you senior. Thanks for junior brother's auspicious words, I hope so." Chen Qinghua looked at the entrance of the cave and smiled bitterly. Minghui is also a golden core now. That good-for-nothing helplessness is also in seclusion to break through to the golden core. I'm still in the foundation building. If it weren't for this bewilderment, I wouldn't have the face to come to the myriad Thunder Valley. Hearing Chen Qinghua call his master good-for-nothing, Xiao Hua's face changed slightly. But thinking about the relationship between helplessness and Zhuo Minghui, his master could only helplessly listen to Chen Qinghua. Therefore, Xiao Hua just smiled and didn't say anything. "Actually, when this old man gave you the thunder-devouring bead, sealed the bright flower pill into your meridians, and even gave you this old man's token, it was all because I wanted you to complete the mission that day and accept me as your disciple. Qian Qinghua continued, unfortunately, you didn't take my token to enter the Imperial Thunder Sect. Instead, you became Helplessness's disciple. When I heard about it, I was also very regretful. Today, even if I want to thank you for your kindness, it's hard for me to do so. Senior brother Qinghua. Xiao Hua said seriously, I've already made it clear. I entered the Imperial Thunder Sect because of the fate you gave me. That's the cause. Today, I invited you back from the Cai family of Luyang to return the favor you gave me back then. That's the effect. Now that we've settled the karma, senior brother, please don't say thanks again. Haha, fine. Now that we're both disciples of the Imperial Thunder Sect and fellow disciples, if I say too much, we'll be estranged. Qian Qinghua laughed. I won't mention this again. Good, this is my senior brother Qinghua. You're as straightforward as when I first met you, Xiao Hua said while clapping his hands. However, junior brother Xiao. Qian Qinghua laughed again. You still need to change some of your temper. Xiao Hua understood that Qian Qinghua wanted to talk about the Great Thunder Palace, so he gave a non-committal reply. Then he asked, right, senior brother Qinghua, since you've already returned to the Imperial Thunder Sect, you're already safe. Why did you come to the Myriad Thunder Valley in camouflage? Don't tell me you're afraid of my master's wife bumping into you. If it's something I need to hide from others, I can't say a word. But to junior brother Xiao, I can still reveal a thing or two. Qian Qinghua had to answer, that thunder-devouring bead is extremely important to the Imperial Thunder Sect, but I'm only a Foundation Establishment disciple. The Great Thunder Palace and the Great Thunder Palace are very confused about this, so, the thunder-devouring bead hasn't been fully used yet. That's all I have to say. Yes, I understand. Xiao Hua laughed. I'm afraid I have to take a good look at senior brother Qinghua's whereabouts during those days. Good. Qian Qinghua laughed. I can't say much about the thunder-devouring bead, but I still have to say about you. So before Xiao Hua could speak, he continued, in fact, when you returned to the Sky Thunder Peak that day, the Great Thunder Palace was already like an ant on a hot pan about the fall of the disciples of the Sky Patrol City. They didn't know how to attract the attention of the disciples. Perhaps no one thought of putting this big hat on your head, but you just happened to bump into it. Looking at Qian Qinghua's earnest advice, Xiao Hua was a little helpless and could only listen. He knew that some nascent soul masters of the Great Thunder Palace asked Qian Qinghua to say this. In the eyes of the palace masters, you've already gained a lot of merits. Even if you lose some, it's nothing. After all, your qualifications are still shallow. In fact, just like what you said just now, I lost dozens of years, but I gained more than dozens of years for the Imperial Thunder Sect. I think it's worth it, and even you think it's worth it. Then why don't you be a fool for the Imperial Thunder Sect? Alas, anyone can say this, but when it comes to me, how can it be as simple as it sounds? Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. Moreover, a group of nascent soul masters put this hat on my head without saying anything. Who would be happy? Since it's already been put on, why do you still want to stir up trouble? Qian Qinghua said again, the matter of you striking several thousand qi refining disciples made the Great Thunder Palace furious. They were just about to punish you, but you tactfully ran away. When those Foundation Establishment cultivators challenged you, it's fine if you ignored them. Who would have thought that you would come back and challenge 2,000 people at the same time? You say the Great Thunder Palace won't get angry again? Also, defeating Chen Yuhe is one thing, but you even burned his Daoist robe. You say, the Heavenly Thunder Palace lost all face. Can the Palace Master of my Heavenly Thunder Palace leave it at that? In addition, you used the challenge Jade Slip to exchange for Spirit Stones. Only you could think of that. You say the Great Thunder Palace won't punish you and won't let you go into seclusion to reflect on your mistakes. Is that possible? To tell the truth, this punishment is already very light. If it were according to some people's suggestion, I'm afraid they'd have to abolish your cultivation. Xiao Hua sneered. Fortunately, Reverend Lei Meng and Fairy Yarofeng were against it. Fairy Xian Hua also felt that this kind of punishment was too severe. Only then did she raise the board high up and lightly drop it. Isn't going into seclusion to reflect on your mistakes for 3 years exactly the time to comprehend what you've gained from the great battle of Dao and Sword over the past 10 years? Presumably, junior brother will definitely be able to step into the late stage of foundation establishment 3 years later. Qian Qinghua said with a smile, of course, junior brother Xiao, this is also a solid warning from the Great Thunder Palace. In these 3 years, you really must not take half a step out of the myriad Thunder Valley, and really must not make the slightest mistake again. Otherwise, even Reverend Lei Meng and Fairy Yarofeng won't be able to protect you anymore. Many thanks, senior brother Qinghua. Xiao Hua nodded. No matter how arrogant this disciple is, I'm still only a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. How can I overturn the heavens? Now that everything has been settled, I'm preparing to go into seclusion in the myriad Thunder Valley to reflect on my mistakes. Hehe, that's right. Chen Yuha's buttocks have been spanked, and the 100,000 spirit stones have also been collected. Who would dare to disturb your seclusion? Chen Qinghua laughed mischievously and said in a low voice, tell me the truth, is Chen Yuha's buttocks white? Senior brother, how would I know? Senior brother Yuha is still wearing armor under his Daoist robe. Xiao Hua was stunned. Hehe, when Chen Yuha was young, he always showed off his flirtatious side in front of this old man. Back then, damn it, if not for this guy, this old man would have already dual cultivated. Chen Qinghua laughed again. Junior brother Xiao's fight is to my liking. -11. Chapter 3050. What? You? Xiao Hua was dumbfounded. He didn't expect that Chen Qinghua and Chen Yuha had such a story. Then what's the story between Chen Qinghua and Zhuo Minghui? By the way, where's your master? I'm afraid he's in closed-door training. It's not easy for him to come out. It seems that I have to visit him more often when I'm free. Chen Qinghua looked up at the entrance of the abode. It's not easy for Minghui to manage the myriad Thunder Valley alone. Xiao Hua's back was sweating. He hurriedly said, Senior brother Chen, do you have anything else? If not, I'm going to send you out and start closed-door training immediately. Don't. I haven't been to the myriad Thunder Valley for a long time. I have no choice. Chen Qinghua waved his hand and said, and junior sister Minghui, but before Chen Qinghua finished, Xiao Hua whispered mysteriously, Senior brother Chen Qinghua, to tell you the truth, when you took out the corpse of Miss Cai from the coffin, I know you were forced to do it to protect yourself. But, do you know who Cai Zhuoxia's dual cultivation partner is? Who? Chen Qinghua was stunned. Then he waved his hand and said contemptuously, how could a female cultivator from a cultivation family have a relationship with someone of higher status? It's already good that I didn't destroy her corpse that day. Li Zongbao from the Utopia faction, Xiao Hua said seriously, now he's already a cultivator at the early stage of the Gold Core realm. When I found you that day, he was right next to you. If I didn't try my best to block him, I'm afraid senior brother Chen Qinghua would have been turned into minced meat. In my opinion, he didn't make things difficult for you that day because we were all in the first team of the conference hall. But I can't guarantee that in the future, so you'd better hurry up and cultivate. The sooner you enter the Gold Core realm, the sooner you can get rid of Li Zongbao. And, in my opinion, before you enter the Gold Core realm, you can't leave the Imperial Thunder Sect. What? Chen Qinghua was dumbfounded. What you said, is it true? How could this be possible? One is a disciple of a famous cultivation sect, the other is an insignificant disciple of a cultivation family. It's true. How could I lie to you? Presumably, the Great Thunder Hall has already sent disciples to Luyang to investigate by now. You'll know once you ask. Li Zongbao only saw you condensing your Dan in the couple's coffin. Xiao Hua also didn't know. Oh no. Chen Qinghua's expression changed. He didn't expect that throwing Cai Zhuoxia's corpse outside would cause such a huge harm. He knew who Li Zongbao was. His cultivation had stagnated and he was no match for Li Zongbao. Plus, Li Zongbao had the upper hand. If Li Zongbao came, he wouldn't be able to deal with him. Junior brother Xiao, I owe you another favor, Chen Qinghua said as he put on the camouflage hat and said in a low voice, I'm going back now. Oh, if you have time, tell Minghui that I'm still alive in this world. All right, I understand. Xiao Hua urged, Senior Brother Qinghua, you should hurry back and enter seclusion. The earlier you enter the Gold Core realm, the earlier you can be free. Yes, that's right. Qian Qinghua said, clasped his hands and left in a hurry. Humph. Old bastard. After Qian Qinghua left, Xiao Hua snorted, I'll let it go today. If you dare to come to my myriad Thunder Valley in the future, I'll beat you every time I see you. Xiong Zhili. Xiao Hua shouted. Coming, foster father, what's the matter? Xiong Zhili answered and flew in front of Zhuo Minghui and the others. Foster father is going to the myriad Thunder Valley for seclusion, Xiao Hua ordered. However, if there's any middle or late Foundation Establishment realm cultivators, well, even disciples of the Heavenly Thunder Palace, who dare to come to my myriad Thunder Valley, you can send a message to foster father. Although foster father can't step out of the myriad Thunder Valley, if he dares to come in, foster father will beat him until his teeth fall out and break his leg. Pull out his tendons and skin him. Ah, yes. Xiong Zhili was confused, but seeing Xiao Hua gnashing his teeth, he didn't dare to ask more. He just silently remembered it in his heart. What's the matter, Xiao Hua? Zhuo Minghui and the others came in and asked in a low voice. It's nothing. Xiao Hua looked at his master's wife and said with a smile, Disciple is afraid that when I'm in seclusion, some shameless cultivators will come to make trouble for us, so I told Li to pay more attention. Hehe, second senior brother, from today until the day you're in the Myriad Thunder Valley, who would dare to touch our Myriad Thunder Valleys but, unless they don't want to live anymore? Kui Hongshan said with a smile. Okay. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said with a smile, it's fine if some people know how to behave, but I'm afraid of people who don't know how to behave. Then Xiao Hua bowed to Zhuo Minghui and said, Disciple will go to the inner valley for seclusion. When Master comes out of seclusion before the end of the year, please tell Disciple in advance so that Disciple can go and welcome Master. Go. Zhuo Minghui waved her hand. Just take it that you're on duty. My Myriad Thunder Valley is just a general name, and I didn't say that you can't step out of any specific Myriad Thunder Valley. If you have nothing to do, you can go back to your cave. Okay, Xiao Hua nodded. But Disciple really should go into seclusion for a period of time. Master's wife and eldest senior brother, take care of yourselves. Ha, second junior brother, do you think we're the same size as Yingying? Xiong Yang said with a big laugh. Obviously, he had heard Xiong Zhili's explanation outside the cave just now. Knowing that the Myriad Thunder Valley had received hundreds of thousands of top-grade spirit stones at once, he was already bursting with joy. After a little preparation, Xiao Hua came to the Myriad Thunder Valley for the first time under Xiong Yang's lead. He waited for Xiong Yang to take out the jade tablet, open the restriction, and then gave Xiao Hua the jade slip that recorded how to open and close the restriction. Only then did he lead Xiao Hua into the restriction. As soon as he stepped into the restriction, he saw a huge cone-shaped mountain peak standing in the air. Hundreds of millions of lightning bolts and thunder were produced from the void and smashed on the mountain peak. The deep valley several miles in size was full of lightning and thunder, and water overflowed. Xiao Hua couldn't help but show a shocked expression again. Junior brother Xiong Yang glanced at Xiao Hua, who didn't have any reaction in the midst of the surging lightning, and said in a low voice, This is the core of my Myriad Thunder Valley. The real Myriad Thunder Valley. Master is usually on duty here. Come with me. Yes. Xiao Hua nodded, and followed Xiong Yang into the cave on the stone wall. Then, he watched Xiong Yang activate the layers of restriction and take out a misty green copper mirror. When he breathed a mouthful of true essence into it, the entire mountain peak's movements were clear at a glance. Then, Xiong Yang told him the rules of duty, and finally said, Junior brother only needs to meditate here and look at the copper mirror. If there's anything different about the lightning strikes on the mountain peak, immediately come out and inform Shocking Thunder Palace. Naturally, junior brother can't leave the Myriad Thunder Valley. You only need to send me a message, and I'll come over immediately. Actually, to tell you the truth, all these years I've been on duty here, I've never encountered any abnormalities. You only need to be careful of your own cultivation, and don't be affected by the sound of thunder. If you feel that something is wrong, immediately leave this place. Yes, junior brother understands. Xiao Hua nodded, and looked left and right. Eldest senior brother has said everything that needs to be said. Junior brother will stay on duty for a few days and take a look. If there's anything I don't understand, I'll ask eldest senior brother. All right, Xiangyang nodded. I'll go back first. After half a day, I'll come back and see if there's anything wrong with you. All right. Xiao Hua knew that Xiangyang was still worried, and nodded. Sure enough, in the following 3 days, Xiangyang, Kui Hongshan, and Zhou Minghui actually came more than 10 times. Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but at the same time, he felt warmth in his heart. After all, this was genuine concern, and was much better than huge Thunder Palace's distortion of right and wrong. In the end, under Xiao Hua's persuasion, Xiangyang and the others didn't come over. Xiao Hua then sealed the Myriad Lightning Valley's restriction and roared loudly at the abyss of the Myriad Lightning Valley. He then activated the lightning escape technique and flew towards the mountain peak. Catcher tilde the instant Xiao Hua rushed into the abyss, a bolt of heavenly lightning appeared out of nowhere, and struck Xiao Hua's arm. A numb feeling immediately came from his arm, and a powerful force rushed into Xiao Hua's arm, instantly destroying a large part of his physical body, and Xiao Hua's figure also fell several kaiwang. Xiao Hua's body flashed with lightning, and his figure rushed forward together with the power of the heavenly lightning. The powerful lightning energy was used by him in the Imperial Lightning transformation, and the speed of the lightning escape increased by a lot. There were actually signs of breaking through to Imperial Lightning Gem. Moreover, the physical body that had just been destroyed by the heavenly lightning, not only did it refine the power of heavenly lightning under the celestial body bestowment technique, it also repaired the physical body at an extremely fast speed. Wonderful! Xiao Hua felt the changes in the Imperial Lightning transformation, and laughed in his heart. This Myriad Thunder Valley's Myriad Thunder Valley is where the lightning evasion technique is located, right? Although this Xiao doesn't have a lightning evasion technique, this Xiao has the celestial body bestowment technique, as well as the thunder roar lightning flash technique. Presumably, this Imperial Lightning transformation, which has been stagnant for a long time, can advance to Imperial Lightning Gem while comprehending talismans in this Myriad Thunder Valley. Xiao Hua's thoughts were indeed correct. In this abyss of lightning, he urged the lightning evasion technique to cultivate. In the beginning, every few kai, there would be heavenly lightning striking his physical body. Without the protection of the Phoenix celestial body, the power of this strike was very powerful. Although Xiao Hua had the celestial body bestowment technique, after experiencing it several times, his physical body couldn't recover in time. Xiao Hua had no choice but to escape into the lightning peak. Naturally, Xiao Hua didn't stay idle while repairing his physical body. He took out the 3-legged vermilion bird phoenix pattern furnace from the space, and let his primordial spirit practice the refining technique inside the space, while he warmed up the pill furnace, preparing to refine the rejuvenation pill. This rejuvenation pill could only be successfully refined inside the lightning peak under heavenly lightning. This item was much more precious than the ageless pill. In the future, the income of the Myriad Thunder Valley would most likely depend on it. Thinking about how many Foundation Establishment and Gold Core female cultivators there were on the Dawn Rain continent, Xiao Hua's blood boiled. It was precisely because of this that Xiao Hua didn't put the 150,000 top-grade spirit stones in his eyes. -11. Chapter 3051. In the following days, Xiao Hua refined the rejuvenation pill while cultivating the lightning evasion technique. After refining a cauldron of rejuvenation pills, Xiao Hua refined another cauldron of spirit pills to mend scars. This kind of spirit pill was rare, but Xiao Hua had collected a lot of recipes for it. Therefore, the refining method was not worth mentioning. As for the lightning evasion technique, after cultivating in the Myriad Thunder Valley, Xiao Hua gradually gained some understanding of it. The abyss around the lightning peak was unfathomable. After flying at a certain depth, Xiao Hua was gradually able to avoid the bombardment of the indescribable heavenly lightning. Since he could avoid it, His Imperial Thunder transformation technique's progress had stagnated. Xiao Hua only pondered for a moment before descending several zhong. As expected, the heavenly lightning was even more concentrated and appeared without any pattern. This once again urged Xiao Hua to recite the Imperial Thunder transformation technique's incantation. His figure quickly flew down and welcomed the heavenly lightning's baptism. It was unknown whether Xiao Hua's bone tempering was effective, the lightning pill in his body was effective, or the lightning evasion technique was effective. Xiao Hua's Imperial Thunder transformation technique advanced by leaps and bounds. Not long after he advanced to the Imperial Thunder transformation technique, when Xiao Hua used the lightning evasion technique, his entire body really seemed to be controlling heavenly lightning as he flashed in the abyss. Suddenly, he sped up, suddenly stopped, suddenly disappeared, and suddenly reappeared. He had reached a critical juncture where the Imperial Thunder transformation technique was just around the corner. Thus, after Xiao Hua refined a cauldron of spirit pills, he stored the cauldron into the space and concentrated on cultivating the lightning evasion technique. Once he broke through to the Imperial Thunder transformation technique, he would focus on refining the rejuvenation pill, or even the heaven flattening staff and the demonic tool horned silver armor. Unfortunately, it was only a dozen or so days. Xiao Hua had just disappeared from a part of the torrent of lightning and was closing his eyes to comprehend the changes in his body and the surrounding lightning currents. Just as he was about to break free from the torrent of lightning, Xiao Hua suddenly saw a clear purple color in front of him. It was as if his entire body had merged into a purple space. In this space, every trace of purple was in the shape of a bolt of lightning, and this space seemed to be endless. Xiao Hua was shocked. Before he could think, a rumbling sound as if the sky was collapsing and the earth was collapsing came from all around him. Every single strand of purple turned into a bolt of purple heavenly lightning that flashed across the sky like a dragon. It was as if all the heavenly lightning in the world had gathered here and was about to strike Xiao Hua. Immediately, Xiao Hua could no longer hear anything. He didn't know if it was his mind or his eyes, but he was completely immersed in the torrential lightning. Not only that, when the entire world was silent, an unparalleled power was born from every single bolt of purple heavenly lightning and pounced on Xiao Hua from all directions. A kind of absolute fear. It was the same fear Xiao Hua felt when Hutu great god lit the soul-falling lamp in the Hutu village's ancestral shrine. A kind of powerlessness, a kind of uncertainty, a kind of vastness, a kind of helplessness, and a kind of lifelessness uncontrollably filled Xiao Hua's mind. Not to mention that in the myriad Thunder Valley, Xiao Hua, who was in seclusion to reflect on his mistakes, had unexpectedly fallen into an inexplicable realm while practicing the lightning evasion technique. In the Great Thunder Palace, Fairy Xian Hua looked at Qian Qinghua with a face full of anger and coldly said, "Qinghua, the disciples who went to Rain Town to investigate have already returned. You said before, the location where you obtained the thunder-devouring bead is still there, and nothing has changed. Moreover, this old woman has already sent disciples to confirm everything you said. It seems everything is normal. But where is the source of your information? There isn't even the slightest bit of progress." Qian Qinghua stood in front of the palace very aggrieved, bowing and saying, "Yes, Master Ancestor knows. This junior received a message from Thunder Palace's senior brother Zhenxie near Small Hill Peak that day, so I hurriedly sent a message to the sect and rushed to Rain Town. This junior was extremely careful along the way. Apart from Xiao Hua, who hadn't entered my Imperial Thunder sect at that time, this junior didn't see any other sect's disciple. However, this junior didn't see any trace of senior brother Zhenxie. Even using our sect's secret technique, this junior couldn't find any trace of senior brother Zhenxie. Therefore, this junior felt that this was a misunderstanding on this junior's part and wanted to turn back. But at this time, this junior sensed an obscure lightning fluctuation at the location where the thunder-devouring bead was hidden. Since this junior sensed it, naturally this junior couldn't return empty-handed. This junior hurriedly used our sect's lightning technique to retrieve the thunder-devouring bead. To tell you the truth, even if the thunder-devouring bead fell into this junior's storage bag, this junior didn't dare to believe it was real. However, before this junior could think more, that bastard from the Shonghua sect actually chased after this junior. He wanted to kill this junior without saying a word. By this time, how could this junior not know that the news about the thunder-devouring bead had been leaked? Since the news was leaked and the thunder-devouring bead was real, this junior felt that there was no problem with the thunder-devouring bead. Therefore, this junior fought and retreated at the same time, wanting to escape back to Sky Thunder Peak. Moreover, this junior also felt that since senior martial brother Jean-Xie sent a message, he must be nearby. If this junior met him, wouldn't this junior be fine? But who would have thought? This junior fled all the way until this junior was seriously injured, but this junior still didn't see senior brother Jean-Xie. This junior felt that this junior had no hope and was about to take the thunder-devouring bead and self-detonate it. At that time, Xiao Hua, who was only at the qi refining stage, appeared. This junior saw that his flying technique was so powerful that even Foundation establishment cultivators couldn't catch up with him. Moreover, he was also a rogue cultivator and wouldn't attract attention. Thus, this junior took the risk and gave the thunder-devouring bead to Xiao Hua. I also sealed the clear flower pill in his meridians. This sealing technique is unique to my Imperial Thunder sect and others can't undo it. Moreover, if there was a slight mistake while undoing the seal, the clear flower pill's efficacy would definitely explode. Afterwards, this junior's spiritual power was insufficient and I couldn't escape far away, so I found a secluded place in the Cai family of Luyang to hide. Coincidentally, the eldest daughter of the Cai family, Cai Zhuoxia, happened to be in a coffin. This junior moved her body out of the coffin and laid in it myself. Moreover, I performed a secret technique of my sect to conceal my vitality. At that time, this junior thought that if Xiao Hua could bring the thunder-devouring bead back to the Imperial Thunder sect, this junior would have a way to survive. If Xiao Hua couldn't bring the thunder-devouring bead back to the sect, this junior would pretend that I didn't meet Xiao Hua and perish together with the thunder-devouring bead. Hearing Qian Qinghua's explanation, Fairy Xian Hua's expression calmed down a bit. She then asked, "Then why didn't you mention Jean-Xie in the message you sent to the sect?" This junior thought that senior brother Jean-Xie had already gone there. Since he had sent a message, others must have known. Moreover, this junior couldn't confirm the authenticity of the message. Although the communication charm belonged to senior brother Jean-Xie, his name wasn't mentioned in the message. Qian Qinghua felt even more wronged. Moreover, who knew that senior brother Jean-Xie would mysteriously disappear in our sect? If this were to spread, someone must have found out that it was senior brother Jean-Xie who leaked the message, so they ruthlessly tried to kill him. The communication charm you brought back has been confirmed to be Jean-Xie's. Fairy Xian Hua said indifferently. When he sent the communication charm, he should have been outside the Sky Thunder Peak. However, for some reason, he abandoned such an important thing like the thunder-devouring bead and instead returned to the Sky Thunder Peak. Unfortunately, this matter can only be left unsettled with Jean-Xie's death. Ancestor. Qian Qinghua said again, this junior thinks that since this thunder-devouring bead is real and this junior has disappeared for decades without any abnormalities, there shouldn't be any problems, right? What do you know? Fairy Xian Hua sneered, this thunder-devouring bead is different from other magic treasures. It's related to the life and death of our Imperial Thunder sect. Moreover, such a crucial item was strangely obtained by a Foundation establishment disciple like you. Although the process of Xiao Hua being sent from Rain Town to the Imperial Thunder sect was strange, he was a small rogue cultivator. No one would have thought that he had such a precious treasure, so it's understandable. However, if you obtained it, it's hard to say. Moreover, the origin of this thunder-devouring bead, in a situation where we can't be sure, even the sect master wouldn't dare to make a judgment. This disciple doesn't understand. Qian Qinghua shook his head. Even if the origin of the thunder-devouring bead is unknown, once it's in the sect master's hands, it belongs to our Imperial Thunder sect. How can we let it fly? Of course you don't understand. Fairy Xian Hua sneered. Our Imperial Thunder sect's arrays rely on lightning energy. This thunder-devouring bead can replace the current thunder-vanishing bead and replace all of our arrays. Originally, the thunder-vanishing bead had gradually lost its effect due to the changes in the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Now, we have to rely on this thunder-devouring bead to get through this crisis. However, at such a critical moment, the thunder-devouring bead descended from the heavens. Who dares to say that this isn't the ulterior motive of others? If our Imperial Thunder sect uses this thunder-devouring bead, wouldn't we be placing our sect in the hands of others? Once there's an unforeseen event, who would be able to resist the enemy? This junior understands. Qian Qinghua smiled. Currently, our myriad Thunder Valley, Thousand Thunder Mountain, and Imperial Thunder Ocean all have lightning streams and lightning water to protect our arrays, right? Fairy Xian Hua nodded. Yes, it's because of this that the sect master temporarily replaced a portion of the arrays with the thunder-devouring bead. If there's anything wrong, we can immediately react. Fairy Xian Hua sighed. Of course, this is also a temporary measure. Sooner or later, the thunder-vanishing bead will be replaced by the thunder-devouring bead. This is also the reason why this old woman urged you to hurry up. This junior understands, but this is all that this junior can do. Qian Qinghua shook his head helplessly. Senior brother Zhenxie has fallen, and that jade slip was sent by him. The news about the thunder-devouring bead has been cut off. Buzz buzz. A slight buzzing sound rang in the Great Thunder Palace, and a faint ray of light appeared. It's a message from Shonghua sect. Fairy Xian Hua was startled. She hurriedly stretched out her hand and was about to touch the light when Thunder Tablet Immortal hurriedly said, Qian Qinghua, get out of the way first. Yes, this junior understands. Qian Qinghua immediately came to his senses. Ignoring the rules, he hurriedly flew out of the Great Thunder Palace. Fairy Xian Hua, however, blushed. Her hand had already touched the light. Swish. A mirror light flashed, and Zun Yunzi's extremely tired face appeared in the irregular mirror. -11. Chapter 3052. Senior brother Zun Yunzi. Without waiting for Zun Yunzi to speak, Fairy Xian Hua called out anxiously, How's the situation in Celestial City? How are the lives of the tens of thousands of Imperial Thunder Sect disciples? Why haven't they sent a message to us after so long? Zun Yunzi raised his head and glanced at Fairy Xian Hua indifferently. He asked in a hoarse voice, Where's Chen Lazy? Still in seclusion? Sect Master hasn't come out yet. Fairy Xian Hua's face reddened, but her heart tightened. Chen Lazy really knows how to hide. Zun Yunzi still looked exhausted. How was he a late-stage nascent soul cultivator? Senior brother Zun Yunzi, how's the situation in Celestial City? Fairy Xian Hua asked helplessly. Sigh, our Dao sect has been defeated. Zun Yunzi sighed. Celestial City has fallen into the hands of sword cultivators. This time's Dao sword war has ended. The specific battle report will be sent to all sects as soon as possible. Other than Fairy Xian Hua, who cried out in shock and disbelief, the entire enormous Thunder Hall was deathly silent. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, their faces filled with absolute confusion. Although the nascent soul cultivators of Great Thunder Hall had already received the news of Celestial City's fall, they only treated it as a piece of news. However, everyone only treated it as a piece of news. No one connected the fall of Sky Patrol City to the failure of the True Path Sect. Dao Sect's defeat seemed to be just an illusory legend. All the nascent soul cultivators of Great Thunder Hall thought that it wouldn't be long before Celestial City was seized by Dao Sect's cultivators. What they had to consider was the safety of Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples in the process of seizing Celestial City. Zun Yunzi's words were tantamount to a sudden clap of thunder, knocking out these nascent soul cultivators who had been immersed in heavenly thunder their entire lives. How could our Dao sect have been defeated? What about our Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples? Fairy Xian Hua hurriedly asked after recovering from her shock. Nothing is impossible in this world, Zun Yunzi said indifferently. Sword cultivators have taken control of Celestial City. In the future, our 3 cultivation kingdoms will definitely be in chaos. Cough cough, since my Dao sect has lost, then the disciples of your Imperial Lightning sect. Just as Zun Yunzi was about to continue speaking, a huge rumbling sound reverberated in everyone's ears. Before the impact of this reverberation could reach Colossal Thunder Palace, The irregular mirror surface Sun Yunzi was using to transmit his message shattered like real glass, turning into thumb-sized fragments that disappeared in midair. Sun Yunzi's words were naturally cut off. Immediately after, the entire Great Thunder Palace began to shake violently. These vibrations were extremely strange. Wherever the vibrations passed, all the restrictive barriers of the colossal Thunder Palace would emit sizzling sounds of thunder flowers. Those thunder flowers were like fireworks in the middle of the night, bursting forth with endless colors. Those thunder flowers coiled around the entire inner walls of the colossal Thunder Palace, crazily flowing about. A change had occurred in the Great Thunder Hall, but none of the Yuanying elders in the hall paid any attention to it. That was because, at the same time the tremors occurred, the Yuanying within the bodies of all the Yuanying cultivators gave birth to an indescribable excitement. Strands of purple brilliance emerged from the skin of the Yuanying. This brilliance flickered at the same speed as the lightning flowers in the Great Thunder Hall. This crazy nascent soul seemed to be beyond the control of a nascent soul cultivator. Merely a moment later, everything returned to normal. Not only did the lightning flowers in the colossal Thunder Palace suddenly disappear, the lightning on the Yuanying also disappeared along with the disappearance of the lightning flowers at the same time. Only a feeling of extreme exhaustion emerged from the Yuanying of everyone, and an extremely strange feeling of calmness emerged from the hearts of the Yuanying cultivators. What is going on? Fairy Xian Hua couldn't help but turn pale with fright. However, when her divine sense swept through the colossal Thunder Palace, her originally pale face turned ashen. How is this possible? The restrictive barrier of the colossal Thunder Palace has completely disappeared. Thunder devouring bead. Thunder devouring bead. Fairy Xian Hua abruptly came to a realization. This situation seemed to have happened when Xiao Hua brought the thunder devouring bead to the colossal Thunder Palace, and when Chen Leizi released the thunder devouring bead in an extremely weak manner. That's not right. Reverend Lei Meng hastily cried out, "It's the thunder vanquishing bead. It caused the formation of our Imperial Thunder sect to lose its effectiveness." Fairy Yarofeng and the others also hurriedly shouted, "Perhaps, the Myriad Thunder Valley, Thousand Thunder Mountain, and Imperial Thunder Ocean all had some abnormalities, causing the lightning water to be lacking, causing the formation of our Imperial Thunder sect to lose its effectiveness." Palace guards, Tilda Fairy Xian Hua shouted in panic, "Quickly send out all the men. There is no need to check the sect's restrictive barrier. First, check all the restrictive barriers outside the Thunder Mo mountain range." Yes, Tilda. All the palace guards outside the colossal Thunder Palace also sensed the abnormality. How could they dare to be negligent? After a slight delay, they all flew out. Sigh Tilda, how can these palace guards patrol the entire Thunder Mo mountain range? Thunder Meng Daoist sighed and said, "Palace masters, immediately send out all the gold core disciples of the various palaces to patrol the Sky Thunder Peak. Quickly report back." Yes, Tilda. All the palace masters on duty hurriedly flew out, and after a brief discussion, they also scattered in all directions. Senior Sister Xian Hua, Zhen Yunzi said in a low voice, "If I'm not mistaken, a part of the sect protecting formation in the Thunder Mo mountain range has been damaged. The current plan is to hurry to the Thunder Devouring Bead. Prepare to replace the Thunder Vanquishing Bead with the Thunder Devouring Bead. Sigh, perhaps this is the only way." Fairy Xian Hua smiled bitterly. "Just now, I was scolding Chen Qinghua. Now, I have no choice but to use the Thunder Devouring Bead in advance. Thunder Devouring Bead, oh Thunder Devouring Bead, you really put me in a difficult position." As she spoke, Fairy Xian Hua glanced at the palace masters and said loudly, "Sect Master is still in seclusion. With such a big change, I'm afraid he can't be called out from his seclusion. Junior brothers and sisters, please tell me what to do next for our Imperial Thunder Sec." Fairy Yarofeng, who usually didn't speak, opened her mouth again at this time. "Senior Sister Xian Hua, now that you've taken the place of Sect Master, your words are our thoughts. No matter what decision you make, we'll support you. Moreover, even if there's something wrong with the Thunder Devouring Bead, didn't Sect Master say it that day? It's true that the Thunder Devouring Bead is extremely powerful and is the nemesis of all the formations in our Imperial Thunder Sec. However, When it comes to our Imperial Thunder sect, it's our thunder-devouring bead. What's there to be afraid of? That's right, Thunder Meng Immortal nodded. The most important thing now is to repair the formation in the Thunder Mo mountain range. Don't let those with evil intentions take advantage of the situation. If they do something in the Thunder Mo mountain range that we don't know about, it'll be a big problem. That's right. I also have the same idea. Fairy Shenhua nodded. Even if Sect Master is here, the first thing he should deal with is this. Junior brother Lei Meng, junior sister Yarofeng, and junior brother Lei Ting. The three of you prepare to follow me to the Thunder Pool. With the combined strength of the four of us, we should be able to activate the Thunder-devouring bead. When the news of the Thunder Mo mountain range is sent back, we'll replace it with the Thunder-devouring bead and activate the formation. Yes, Thunder Meng Immortal, Fairy Yarofeng, and Lei Tingzi hurriedly stood up and replied in unison. Zhen Yunzi glanced at Dui Jie and said, Disciple and Dui Jie can't help with the Thunder-devouring bead. How about this? The two of us will go to the Myriad Thunder Valley, Thousand Thunder Mountain, and Imperial Thunder Ocean to see if there's any change there. At the same time, we'll also appease the disciples of the 8 Great Thunder Palaces. All right, thank you, Junior Martial Brother. Fairy Shenhua nodded and said, other than these few places where the Thunder Water sect has appeared, we'll also check out the other forbidden and dangerous areas. Yes, we'll go right away. After saying that, Zhen Yunzi stood up and hurriedly flew out with Dui Jie. Fairy Shenhua and the others watched the two of them fly away and looked at the remaining 3 palace masters. She waved her hand as if she wanted to open the communication channel with Zhen Yunzi again. Unfortunately, there was no response from her magic power. Clearly, the communication channel was also destroyed by the Imperial Thunder sect. She couldn't help but sigh and said, Fortune never comes in pairs. Misfortune never comes alone. The Dao sect has just been defeated and such a huge change has already occurred in our Imperial Thunder sect. Just now, the Imperial Thunder sect's Zhen Yunzi didn't finish his words, but from what I heard, I'm afraid it's not good. Even if Junior Martial Brother Miu and the others were not kidnapped to the Hung country, I'm afraid our Imperial Thunder sect would have to spend a large amount of spirit stones and elixirs to redeem them. No matter which one it is, our Imperial Thunder sect has suffered a great loss. It's good that they were defeated. The lives of Junior Martial Brother Miu and Quang Tian can be saved. Lei Tingzi, who didn't speak much like Fairy Yarofeng, also sighed, but there was a sense of luck in his tone. If our Dao sect won and the sword cultivators fought to the death, the 2 junior martial brothers would bear the brunt of the calamity. Yes, when the battle report comes back, we'll take a look at it in detail. From what Zhen Yunzi said, it's a bet. Lei Meng Zhenren nodded and said, when the matter in the Thunder Mo mountain range is over, this old man will volunteer to go to Sky Patrol City. No matter what, we have to bring back the tens of thousands of disciples of our Imperial Thunder sect, right? Then we'll have to trouble Junior Martial Brother Lei Meng. Fairy Shenhua looked at everyone helplessly and said, let's not talk about the battle in Sky Patrol City for now. The 4 of us need to discuss how to replace the Thunder-devouring bead. Just as the 4 of them were discussing, news of the Thunder Mo mountain range came bit by bit. What shocked them was that in addition to a portion of the Imperial Thunder sect's restriction formation being destroyed, 30% of the Imperial Thunder sect's sect protective formation had been destroyed. If the Thunder-devouring beads were used as replacements, then 60% of the Imperial Thunder sect's formation would rely on the strange Thunder-devouring beads. Even so, Fairy Shenhua and the others had no choice. They had no other choice but to use the new Thunder-devouring beads. The 4 of them went deep into the lightning pool to replace the Thunder-devouring beads and restore the formation of the Thunder Mo mountain range. When Xiao Hua fell into the purple lightning space, it was as if all the heavenly thunder had struck him. An irresistible killing intent was born from the heavenly thunder, forcing Xiao Hua to the brink of death. But this desperate situation only lasted for a moment. Xiao Hua's vision darkened and the purple suddenly disappeared. All the thunder in his ears also suddenly disappeared, and it was extremely quiet. Minus 11. Chapter 3053. Xiao Hua hurriedly opened his eyes and looked at his surroundings. When he used his divine sense to scan his surroundings, he couldn't help but be dumbfounded. This was because there was not a single bolt of lightning that had descended like rain earlier. Not a single thunderous roar could be heard. The lightning peak in front of him was just like an ordinary mountain, quietly standing there. Even the abyss that had been cleansed by the lightning water was now only darkness, without a single strand of lightning. What is going on? Xiao Hua scratched his head. This Xiao didn't do anything. Why did all the heavenly lightning in this place disappear? Is a myriad thunder valley without lightning still myriad thunder valley? Immediately after, Xiao Hua didn't dare to believe it. He escaped into the lightning mountain and flew straight into the abyss. However, no matter where he went, there was no trace of lightning. It was as if myriad thunder valley had never had myriad thunder valley. Xiao Hua was dumbfounded. He reached out to scratch the back of his head. At this moment, his eyes suddenly lit up and he blurted out, "Damn it, it can't be." Instantly, Xiao Hua's mind sank into the space. Once his mind entered the space, Xiao Hua's heart immediately turned cold. At this moment, within the space, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Right beside the reverse light, a strange inkstone-shaped object was revolving around the reverse light. On the side of the inkstone-shaped object, there were two golden tadpole-like words. However, one of the words was complete while the other was only half of a word. The lightning in the space came from the surroundings of the inkstone and then fell on the inkstone. Looking at the inkstone, it seemed to only be half. It was in an irregular shape with 4 corners. What was special was that the edge was damaged and there were some jagged cracks. The other half of the word was broken from this crack. Looking at the head of this thing, there were 3 protrusions that looked like antennae. After the lightning water fell into the inkstone, some seeped out from the broken edges, forming thick lightning bolts that fell on the huge white bone in the space. Inside the white bone, little Lei, who didn't change at all, received the heavenly lightning bolts as if he was taking a bath. Looking at the surroundings of the inkstone, the heavenly lightning that appeared out of nowhere in the same manner as the 10,000 Thunder Valley, and the purple color of the inkstone, how could Xiao Hua not know that this was what he had encountered in the 10,000 Thunder Valley? How could he not know that it was this item that caused the lightning to fall from the myriad Thunder Valley? Great Aunt Tilda, you can be anywhere in the Imperial Thunder Sect, but please don't be in this small space. Xiao Hua almost wanted to cry. Although he understood that this item was extremely precious, how could he dare to take it? He hurriedly used his mind to cover the object and wanted to send it out of the space. But with a thought, Xiao Hua was dumbfounded again. Although that object was not the same as reverse light and could be sensed by the mind, that object was incomparably heavy and could not be moved by the mind. Furthermore, that object surrounded reverse light and slowly rotated. Similarly, an extremely large amount of lightning water fell into reverse light. Xiao Hua's mind could not disturb that object's rotation at all. "Madam, I beg you." Xiao Hua tried over 1,000 times in succession, but that object was simply bigger than the lightning mountain in the 10,000 Thunder Valley. He could not move it at all, as if it was determined to settle down in Xiao Hua's space. "You've really made this young master suffer." What could Xiao Hua do? His mind was extremely dispirited as he withdrew from the space. Just as his mind withdrew, Xiao Hua felt a strong movement outside the restriction of the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Needless to say, it was definitely Zhuo Minghui and the others who came to investigate. Xiao Hua was extremely unwilling to open the restriction, but what could he do? Just before he opened the restriction, he tried one last time to take the inkstone out of the space, and then he had no choice but to fly in front of the restriction. Xiao Hua opened the restriction, and all the disciples of the 10,000 Thunder Valley came face to face. Zhuo Minghui almost rushed in, and similarly looked at the completely changed 10,000 Thunder Valley with extreme disbelief, and said loudly, "Xiao Hua, what did you do?" After Zhuo Minghui, Yang Qinglian, Kui Hongshan, Dui Chimeng and the others also flew in. After scanning the surroundings with their divine senses, they also looked at Xiao Hua in shock. Disciple. What could Xiao Hua say? He could only stammer, "Disciple didn't do anything." Just as disciple was cultivating in seclusion, the 10,000 Thunder Valley suddenly became like this. Disciple was investigating when master's wife came. Really? Zhuo Minghui stared at Xiao Hua and asked, Xiao Hua, you must tell the truth. Really? Xiao Hua also had unspeakable bitterness. Could he say that it was a problem with his space? Xiong. Zhuo Minghui habitually shouted as she turned around. However, when she saw that Xiong Yang's figure was not behind her, she was a bit puzzled. Where did Xiong Yang go? Yang Qinglian was also puzzled. Looking around, she said, Xiong Yang was with disciple just now. When the 10,000 Thunder Valley changed, we all flew to the inner valley together. Who knows how he suddenly disappeared? Don't worry about Xiong Yang for now. Zhuo Minghui waved her hand. Hongshan, you're also on duty here. Take Chimeng and your disciples and quickly search the depths of the Thunder Abyss. Qinglian, follow me to the top of the Thunder Peak. Let's see if there are any abnormalities there. No matter what, we must find the reason before the Thunder Palace comes to investigate. Yes, sir. Everyone agreed and flew up. Master's wife. Xiao Hua said anxiously. You stay around for now. Zhuo Minghui was obviously not in the mood to talk to him. Your shift was short and you're not familiar with this place. Just look around. Yes. Xiao Hua nodded helplessly. He knew that what the 10,000 Thunder Valley disciples did was useless and that it was impossible to find the reason. However, what could he say? That inkstone had already taken root in the space. In a short period of time, before he succeeded in tempering his mind, it was impossible to take it out of the space. After searching for an hour, although they did not find the reason for the disappearance of the heavenly lightning, the Thunder Palace disciples that Zhuo Minghui was worried about also did not come. Everyone slowly returned. Xiao Hua asked, somewhat puzzled, Master's wife, I heard Master say before that our 10,000 Thunder Valley has already been gradually forgotten by the Great Thunder Palace. In other words, this 10,000 Thunder Valley is no longer important. This heavenly lightning, if it disappears then it disappears. Report it to the Thunder Palace. At most, they'll just record this disciple's mistake. Ari, child. Although you've been in my 10,000 Thunder Valley for a long time, your master didn't teach you much. Zhuo Minghui sighed. My 10,000 Thunder Valley is no longer as glorious as before and its role is small. However, it still involves my Imperial Thunder Sect's sect-protecting formation. Just now, a strong lightning power shock occurred in the 10,000 Thunder Valley. The restriction in my cave was broken by this shock. Presumably, other places will also be affected. Let's not talk about this shock of lightning power for now. The disappearance of the heavenly lightning in this 10,000 Thunder Valley and the scarcity of lightning water will directly affect the lightning power supply of the formation. Even if the lightning power is strong and weak, the formation of the entire Thunder Mountain range will be threatened. Although our 10,000 Thunder Valley is small, it involves a very wide area. This is so serious. Xiao Hua complained in his heart, but he still asked, since it's so important, why don't you attach importance to my 10,000 Thunder Valley? My Imperial Thunder Sect's formation relies on lightning pools. Other than 10,000 Thunder Valley, only 1,000 Thunder Mountain and Imperial Thunder Sea can produce lightning water. As for the other magic treasures, I'm not too clear about them. Among the three places, my 10,000 Thunder Valley is the smallest and produces the least amount of lightning water. Today's spiritual energy changes, Lord Sect Master must have already taken care of it. A place as small as my 10,000 Thunder Valley naturally has an even smaller role. But the facts prove that the 10,000 Thunder Valley's role is not small. Xiao Hua bit his lip. Yes, it's precisely because it's not small that your punishment is heavier. Zhuo Minghui smiled bitterly. I remember your master once said that if there are any changes in the 10,000 Thunder Valley, then the punishment of Great Thunder Palace will be extremely heavy. It's even recorded in the sect's ancestral teachings. Bad news. Xiao Hua cried miserably. This disciple has caused a great disaster. Second senior brother, this matter isn't caused by you. Kui Hongshan said anxiously. Zhuo Minghui shook her head. Although this Xiao Hua didn't do anything, Xiao Hua was on duty today. He definitely can't escape responsibility. At this moment, a powerful divine sense swept through the 10,000 Thunder Valley, and a shocked voice was also transmitted into everyone's ears. Something actually happened in the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Everyone was shocked and hurriedly flew out of the 10,000 Thunder Valley, respectfully standing guard in midair. Not long after, Deity flew over from afar, her face filled with anger. Seeing this, the faces of Zhuo Minghui and the others instantly change. They had always been hoping for a fluke, wanting to find the reason for the disappearance of the 10,000 Thunder Valley's lightning before shocking Thunder Palace questioned them, hoping to make up for their mistakes. But they never would have thought that what should come would still come, and the one who came was actually the Palace Master of Lightning Palace. Although Lightning Palace was ranked last among the 8 great lightning palaces, with the Palace Master of Lightning Palace personally coming, anyone could realize the seriousness of the matter. While everyone was slightly stunned, Kui Hongshan suddenly urged his transcendence energy and flew in front of Deity. With a flustered expression, he bowed and said, "Disciple of the 10,000 Thunder Valley, Kui Hongshan, greets Palace Master Deity. Just now, this junior was on duty in the 10,000 Thunder Valley and accidentally touched a restriction. This restriction was originally normal, and this junior had encountered it before, but I didn't know what happened today. Lightning flashed in the 10,000 Thunder Valley, and then it was completely annihilated. My 10,000 Thunder Valley's disciples noticed that something was wrong, and all of us came here to patrol. But after searching for so long, we still haven't found anything strange. If there is any punishment because of the 10,000 Thunder Valley, this junior will bear it. Can a foundation establishment brat like you bear the punishment of the 10,000 Thunder Valley?" Deity sneered, looked around, and asked, "What about the 10,000 Thunder Valley's Wu Wei?" Disciple Zhuo Minghui greets Palace Master Deity. Zhuo Minghui hurried forward and said in a low voice, "Wu Wei has been in seclusion for more than 10 years in order to break through to the Golden Core Realm, and he hasn't come out yet. It's good that he's in seclusion." Deity narrowed her eyes. "But even so, he can't escape the responsibility." -11. Chapter 3054. Soon after, Deity looked indifferently at Zhuo Minghui and Kui Hongshan and coldly said, "Leave, you were ordered to guard the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Now, you have actually destroyed the 10,000 Thunder Valley. Although you have neglected your duties, it is still a heinous crime. I'm afraid that no one will be able to protect you. Let's go, follow this old one to Colossal Thunder Hall to receive punishment." Saying this, Deity ignored everyone and turned to leave. When Kui Hongshan heard this, his expression unconsciously relaxed. He turned to look at Deity Chimeng. Deity Chimeng, Yang Qinglian, and the others actually didn't have the chance to greet Deity. Seeing the look in Kui Hongshan's eyes, Deity Chimeng's expression darkened. Perhaps Xiao Hua did not know the consequences of destroying Myriad Thunder Valley's Myriad Thunder Valley, but Deity Chimeng had heard everything clearly before Kui Hongshan's shift at Thunderclap Palace. Although Kui Hongshan's actions caused Deity Chimeng's heart to ache greatly, she also understood Kui Hongshan's thoughts of protecting Xiao Hua. Although she could confirm that the annihilation of the Myriad Thunder Valley's Myriad Thunder Valley had nothing to do with Xiao Hua was, after all, in charge of the Myriad Thunder Valley's Myriad Thunder Valley in seclusion. Xiao Hua's responsibility could not be shirked. Not to mention that this responsibility was originally very heavy, Xiao Hua had now been repeatedly punished by the Great Thunder Hall. He really could not make any more mistakes. Although Deity Chimeng's heart was in pain, she still respected her husband's decision and nodded slightly at Kui Hongshan's gaze. Wait. Just as Kui Hongshan's gaze swept past Xiao Hua and secretly gave him a meaningful glance, Xiao Hua couldn't take it anymore and raised his voice. "Senior brother Xiao." Kui Hongshan said anxiously, "I'll be right back." "Nothing will happen. Hey, junior brother Kui, even if there's nothing wrong, this matter happened because of me. I still have this bit of responsibility. How can I let you take the blame? I appreciate your kind intentions, but let me go to the enormous Thunder Hall to bear the responsibility for this crime." Xiao Hua stepped out from the crowd and indifferently said, "Senior brother Xiao." Kui Hongshan stomped his feet in midair. He had managed to deceive Dui Jie with great difficulty, and as long as he arrived at the Great Thunder Hall, he would already have a certain degree of confidence. Who would still be able to tell? Now that Xiao Hua had stood out, although Dui Jie did not understand the duty of 10,000 Thunder Valley very well, she could tell at a glance. Yes. Xiao Hua has been punished by my colossal Thunder Hall to be in seclusion on duty in Myriad Thunder Valley. Kui Hongshan, how could you possibly be on duty again? Dui Jie's face turned cold as she said angrily, how dare you deceive this queen? How should he be punished? Dui Qimeng hastily stepped forward and bowed, Your Excellency Asgard Master, Brother Kui and Xiao Hua have a deep brotherly relationship. Asgard Master, please quell your anger. Dui Jie looked at Dui Qimeng, then at Xiao Hua and Kui Hongshan. A complicated expression flashed across her eyes. She waved her hand and said, Qimeng, you are a disciple of my Dui Thunder Palace. You made great contributions during the Dao Sword War. You are truly a role model for my Dui Thunder Palace. Moreover, the relationship between Kui Hongshan and Xiao Hua, this old woman is also gratified. However, a mistake was a mistake, and others could not bear it. This consort doesn't know how your 10,000 Thunder Valley guards, nor can this consort determine who made this mistake. Therefore, this consort does not intend to pursue Kui Hongshan's crime of deceit. The three of you, follow this old woman, and wait until we arrive at the Great Thunder Hall to listen to the other teacher's decision. After speaking, Dui Jie flew away without looking back. As she flew, she even sent out a Thunder Note talisman. It was very obvious that the responsibility of 10,000 Thunder Valley's destruction was too great. Kui Hongshan looked at Xiao Hua, sighed, and did not speak again. Let's go. Zhuo Minghui's heart also ached. She looked at Dui Qimeng, then looked at Kui Ingying, who was being held by Zhong Huan behind Dui Qimeng. She had already made a decision in her heart, and she waved her hand to follow behind Dui Jie. Xiao Hua and Kui Hongshan accompanied Zhuo Minghui. Junior brother Kui. After flying for a while, Xiao Hua transmitted in a low voice, 10,000 Thunder Valleys, 10,000 Thunder Valleys, 10,000 Thunder Valley disappeared. What serious consequences could there be? From Palace Master Dui's meaning, it seems very serious. Haha, it's nothing much. Kui Hongshan said with a forced smile, if it was before, 10,000 Thunder Valley was the vital point of my Imperial Thunder Sect. The disappearance of 10,000 Thunder Valley would definitely cause a huge commotion. But now, 10,000 Thunder Valley's importance has already gradually faded. Otherwise, Master, a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator, would not have been on guard that year, and would not have been so dislike. If we talk about punishment, right? It's just a matter of raising it up high and gently dropping it down. A fine of spirit stones, a punishment of being confined to seclusion, and that's it. If it's too serious, this little brother also does not dare to shoulder it for you. Since that's the case, you also don't need to shoulder it for this elder brother. Xiao Hua seemed to understand Kui Hongshan's meaning, and let out a slight sigh of relief. The problem is that second senior brother has provoked quite a bit of Great Thunder Hall's anger during this period of time. If you commit this minor mistake again, it will make Great Thunder Hall very embarrassed. Kui Hongshan said with a bitter smile, who knows, Great Thunder Hall might make a mountain out of a molehill and cause some huge waves. Xiao Hua smiled, waving his hand, it's fine. Everything will come to light after the Great Dao Sword battle ends. Nothing will happen to this elder brother. Sigh, all right. Kui Hongshan smiled bitterly again. Now that things had come to this, even if he wanted to shoulder the blame for Xiao Hua, it was also impossible. Unfortunately, Xiao Hua and Kui Hongshan still did not notice that Dui Jie, the Palace Master of Great Thunder Hall, had personally come to the Myriad Thunder Valley to investigate. Moreover, she had come alone. How could this matter be simple? When they arrived at the Thunder Immortal Peak, although there were disciples on duty around Great Thunder Hall, they were obviously fewer than usual. Moreover, the order was somewhat disorderly. When some disciples saw Dui Jie and the others flying back, they hurriedly went forward to pay their respects, and then hurriedly returned. Wait outside the hall. When they arrived at the entrance of Great Thunder Hall, Dui Jie indifferently instructed Zhuo Minghui and the others, and then she went in first. At this time, there was no longer the chaos inside Great Thunder Hall. Most of the palace masters who had rushed out to investigate at the beginning of the anomaly had already returned. There were still a few palace masters sitting high on the prayer mats. Except for Zhen Yunzi, who had yet to return, the others all had a trace of anger on their faces as they looked at a cultivator kneeling in the hall. Dui Jie glanced at that cultivator, cupped her hands, and said, reporting to Martial Aunt Xian Hua, "This disciple has already found the location of the anomaly." "Yes, we already know that an anomaly has occurred in the Myriad Thunder Valley," Fairy Xian Hua said indifferently. "Oh." Dui Jie was startled and looked at Zhen Yunzi's empty prayer mat. She had just passed on this matter to Zhen Yunzi and had yet to report it to Great Thunder Hall. Since Zhen Yunzi had yet to return, how could Great Thunder Hall know? Naturally, Dui Jie immediately understood that Zhen Yunzi must have already sent a message to Great Thunder Hall. However, Fairy Xian Hua's next sentence made Dui Jie dumbfounded. Fairy Xian Hua pointed with her finger and said, "The troublemaker of the Myriad Thunder Valley has already come to Great Thunder Hall to accept his punishment." "Ah!" Dui Jie unconsciously looked at the Myriad Thunder Valley disciple kneeling on the ground. Who else could it be but Xiangyang? Sigh, Dui Jie sighed inwardly. Kui Hongshan jumping out to take the blame for Xiao Hua had already exceeded her expectations. Xiangyang was even more miraculous. Long before Dui Jie had arrived at the Myriad Thunder Valley, he had already gone to Great Thunder Hall to take the blame. How could Dui Jie endure this? For a moment, Dui Jie didn't know what to say. "What's the situation in the Myriad Thunder Valley?" Fairy Xian Hua asked coldly. Clearly, she was already beyond furious. That's right, who wouldn't fly into a rage after knowing that the Dao sect had suffered a great defeat in the Dao Sword War and that the lives of tens of thousands of their own disciples were unknown? Reporting to Martial Aunt, the Myriad Thunder Valley has already disappeared. There will no longer be a grand occasion like the Myriad Thunder Tide, Dui Jie said indifferently, and even added, "The effects of the Myriad Thunder Valley have already begun to weaken a long time ago. Now that it has disappeared, it's just that we were caught unprepared. It's not a big deal. Even so, it's still an unforgivable crime." Fairy Xian Hua snorted coldly. "Although the effects of the Myriad Thunder Valley will definitely disappear in the end, now that it has happened ahead of time, our Great Thunder Hall is extremely passive. There are even some unpredictable possibilities." "Yes, this disciple understands." Dui Jie nodded. Just as she was thinking about how to speak up for Xiangyang and how to get Zhuo Minghui and the others to leave, she heard Zhen Yunzi's voice from behind her. "Palace Lord Dui's actions are really fast. I just arrived at the Imperial Thunder Sea, and you already sent me the situation of the Myriad Thunder Valley, and even brought over the disciples of the Myriad Thunder Valley who made a mistake. This is bad." Dui Jie cried bitterly in her heart. "Sure enough," Fairy Xian Hua asked curiously, "Dui Jie? You also took the disciples of the Myriad Thunder Valley?" Sigh. Dui Jie sighed. Looking at the gloomy Thunder Meng Reverend, she said, "Masters, this disciple will not speak anymore. Let Zhuo Minghui and the others from the Myriad Thunder Valley come in and report." After saying this, Dui Jie floated up and sat on her own praying mat. Zhen Yunzi looked at the kneeling Xiangyang with a baffled expression and also sat on his own praying mat. As for Thunder Meng Reverend, his ashen face raised his eyebrows as if he had thought of something. "Let Zhuo Minghui and the others from the Myriad Thunder Valley come in." Fairy Xian Hua raised her voice and shouted. A moment later, Zhuo Minghui and the others followed the outside into the Great Thunder Hall. Needless to say, Xiao Hua seemed to have already become a frequent visitor of the Great Thunder Hall. Kui Hongshan had once come to the Great Thunder Hall and received a reward. At this moment, although he was trembling with fear, he also had some confidence in his heart. On the contrary, as a senior, Zhuo Minghui's figure was somewhat trembling. It was extremely similar to the last time when helplessness brought Xiao Hua to see Qian Leizi. It was no wonder. Zhuo Minghui and helplessness had been in the Imperial Thunder Sect for so many years. They had heard of the awe-inspiring name of the Great Thunder Hall. This kind of formless prestige had long been deeply ingrained in their hearts and minds. It was different from Xiao Hua's fearless newborn calf. Eldest senior brother? When Xiao Hua entered the Great Thunder Hall, he did not lower his head like Shui Minghui and Kui Hongshan. Instead, he swept his gaze and very easily saw Xiangyang's familiar back. When he saw Xiangyang's kneeling figure, how could Xiao Hua not understand why Xiangyang had come to the Great Thunder Hall? In an instant, Xiao Hua's heart was very sour. His nose was sour and his eyes were sour. He then looked at Kui Hongshan, who was respectfully walking in front of him, and slightly lowered his head. He had already made a decision. For these two senior brothers who did not care about their own safety and simply did not consider taking the blame for him, he would lower his proud head. -11. Chapter 3055. Greetings, greetings, Palace Masters. Shui Minghui's tone was somewhat stuttering, and her voice was also slightly trembling. Her heart was in a mess, and she didn't know how to deal with this matter. Shui Minghui, Fairy Xian Hua said coldly, let me ask you, what exactly happened in your Myriad Thunder Valley? Why did two disciples cause trouble all of a sudden? Tell us everything that happened in the Myriad Thunder Valley. Yes, disciple. Shui Minghui's head was still lowered, and she hesitated for a moment before saying, for some reason in the Myriad Thunder Valley, the lightning that was usually like raindrops suddenly completely disappeared. Disciple led the Myriad Thunder Valley to investigate for a long time, but didn't find anything wrong. Is it that simple? Hearing that Shui Minghui couldn't say anything, Fairy Xian Hua asked, when the lightning was annihilated, who was on duty in the Myriad Thunder Valley? It was Disciple. Xiangyang was still unwilling to give up, and before Xiao Hua could speak, he hurriedly said, Disciple just touched the restriction of the Myriad Thunder Valley, and before I could enter, the lightning in the Myriad Thunder Valley instantly disappeared. Although Disciple doesn't know the reason, Disciple knows that Disciple must have made a mistake in the incantation, causing the Myriad Thunder Valley to go wrong. Xiao Hua sighed, stepped forward, and answered with a bow, I'll let martial ancestor Xian Hua know that this matter is Disciple's fault. Hehe, what a helpless disciple. Two disciples actually admitted their mistakes at the same time. Fairy Xian Hua sneered. Martial ancestor Xian Hua. Dui Jie's heart moved, and she seemed to plead for leniency, but also seemed to sneer as she said, it's the helpless disciples who admitted their mistakes at the same time. 3. Fairy Xian Hua's mouth curved into a mocking smile. If all three admit their mistakes, then all three will be punished at the same time. Don't think that you can escape punishment by acting this way. No need. Xiao Hua said indifferently, the matter is very simple. Originally, Disciple was on duty in the Myriad Thunder Valley under the punishment order of the Great Thunder Hall, but the lightning in the Myriad Thunder Valley suddenly disappeared. At that time, Senior Martial Brother Xiangyang and Junior Martial Brother Kui Hongshan were not in the Myriad Thunder Valley. The two of them were only afraid that Disciple would be punished again, so they rushed to stand out. It won't be difficult to investigate this matter. Grandmaster only needs to send a disciple to the 10,000 Thunder Valley to ask where Senior Martial Brother Xiangyang went and where the 10,000 Thunder Valley was before the chain. Junior Brother Xiangyang turned around and shook his head. You don't understand at all. Xiangyang's tone was the same as Kui Hongshan's. No matter what. Xiao Hua ignored Xiangyang and said respectfully, the responsibility of the Myriad Thunder Valley lies on this junior's shoulders. Whether it is punishment or punishment, this junior will bear it alone. Don't involve the other disciples of the Myriad Thunder Valley. HMPH, Xiangyang. Kui Hongshan. Fairy Xian Hua snorted coldly, you dare to deceive Colossal Thunder Hall? Admittedly, your intentions are good, and you want to help your fellow apprentice brothers, but this matter cannot be allowed to continue for long. After this matter is over, go to your thunder-shaking palace and receive 30 whip. Do you have any objections? Senior apprentice sister Xian Hua Tilda hearing this, Thunder Tablet Reverend's face changed slightly as he hurriedly said, 30 lashes, isn't that too heavy? Heavy. Junior brother Lei Meng, if you think it's heavy, Then tell me, how should I deal with it? Fairy Xian Hua sneered, the myriad Thunder Valley was deployed by your thunder-shaking palace. You are also responsible for the annihilation of the myriad Thunder Valley's lightning. This old one naturally has no right to deal with you. When Sect Master comes out of seclusion, this old one will ask him to punish you. Sigh. Thunder Tablet Reverend sighed. He knew that Fairy Xian Hua was currently in a fit of anger and was worried about the tens of thousands of Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples. At this moment, anyone who made a mistake would be severely punished. Thus, he no longer argued with her. However, thinking about Xiao Hua's punishment, Thunder Tablet Reverend unconsciously frowned and looked at Xiao Hua with some pity. We have no objections. Xiong Yang and Kui Hongshan's faces also changed. They did not expect Fairy Xian Hua to be so strict. However, seeing that Thunder Tablet Reverend's pleading was useless, they could only lower their heads and admit their guilt. You all can just stand to the side. Fairy Xian Hua no longer paid attention to Xiong Yang, Kui Hongshan, and Zhuo Minghui. She coldly looked at Xiao Hua and asked in an indifferent tone, Xiao Hua, you're really something. This old one really did not expect you to be so arrogant. Look at you, it's fine if you don't return to the Imperial Thunder Sect, but once you do, you've stirred up the entire sect. This old one let you stay in seclusion in the myriad Thunder Valley so that you could calm your heart. This is not the great battle of Dao and sword. You are a disciple of my Imperial Thunder Sect and should properly abide by the rules of my Imperial Thunder Sect. In the end, this old one's arrangement actually brought disaster to my Imperial Thunder Sect. The myriad Thunder Valley's lightning was actually annihilated. What do you want this old one to say about you? Back then, when this old one first met you, it was also in the Great Thunder Palace. At that time, you were so humble. Even when you brought back the thunder-devouring bead, you were not arrogant and did not ask for rewards. This old one's impression of you was extremely good. However, look at you now. This old one does not dare to believe that this is the same person. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. The annihilation of the myriad Thunder Valley's lightning was indeed his fault. He had no choice but to admit it, and there was no need to conceal it. What he could not say was the specific reason. Therefore, Xiao Hua bowed and said, "This disciple knows his mistake. This disciple neglected his duty and caused the myriad Thunder Valley's lightning to be annihilated. No need to blame yourself." Fairy Xian Hua waved her hand. You still do not have the divine ability to cause the lightning to be annihilated in the myriad Thunder Valley. You merely neglected your duty. Yes, this disciple understands. This disciple will accept his punishment. Xiao Hua willingly lowered his head. He. Fairy Xian Hua sneered and ignored Xiao Hua. Instead, she looked at Thunder Meng Reverend and asked, Junior brother Lei Meng, why don't you tell me what responsibility the person in charge of the myriad Thunder Valley has to bear? What kind of punishment will he receive? Thunder Meng Reverend's expression was indescribably strange. He stared at Xiao Hua for a long while, then said with an emotionless voice, according to the rules set by founder Chen Yun himself, any disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect who guards the Thousand Thunder Mountain, Myriad Thunder Valley and Imperial Thunder Sea must spare no effort to guard the foundation of our Imperial Thunder Sect's formations. Do not have any negligence or wishful thinking. If you discover the slightest abnormality, immediately report it to your Thunder Palace. The Palace Masters of the various Thunder Palaces who receive the news can, according to the urgency of the matter, report it to the Palace Master of the Thunder Palace, or even directly to the Sect Master of the Great Thunder Palace. If the responsibility of the person in charge of the Myriad Thunder Valley and Imperial Thunder Sea causes the formation of our Imperial Thunder Sect to be damaged, depending on the severity of the situation, a light punishment will be to cripple his cultivation and expel him from the Imperial Thunder Sect. A heavy punishment will be to immediately search his soul and kill him on the spot. Ah! Thunder Meng Reverend's words struck Xiao Hua's heart like a bolt from the blue, causing him to almost cry out in surprise. This was really beyond his expectations. He really did not expect that the Myriad Thunder Valley, which had been weak for so many years, would actually have such an important position in its early years. It actually required the founder of the sect, founder Chen Yun, to personally give the order. Furthermore, the punishment for a mistake was so heavy. This kind of punishment was far beyond Xiao Hua's imagination. Junior brother Lei Meng, do you think the annihilation of the myriad Thunder Valley, which Xiao Hua is currently in charge of, is light or heavy? Fairy Xian Hua asked indifferently. Thunder Meng Reverend sighed, replying, naturally extremely heavy, heavy to the point of no return. Not only has the myriad Thunder Valley ceased to exist, even the sect-protecting formation of our Imperial Thunder Sect has been affected. However what? Fairy Xian Hua continued, however, is the current situation of the myriad Thunder Valley different from before? Yes. Thunder Meng Reverend's reply was somewhat low, and even very reluctant. Disciple asks martial uncle Lei Meng a question. Qian Fengju, the palace master of Qian Yun's Thunder Palace, stepped out from the crowd, bowing and asking, what martial uncle said just now, was it the words of the founder of our Imperial Thunder Sect himself? Yes. Thunder Meng Reverend's reply was somewhat lower. Then, in all these years, has any sect master of our Imperial Thunder Sect changed this sect law? Qian Fengju's voice was equally calm. No. Thunder Meng Reverend's voice was almost inaudible. Disciple has no more questions, many thanks for martial uncle Lei Meng's teachings. Qian Fengju retreated like the wind. Plop Tilda Xiongyang, who was at the side, couldn't help but kneel down and say anxiously, I would like to inform all the palace masters that this is the first time Xiao Hua is on duty in the myriad Thunder Valley. This is all my fault for not informing Xiao Hua of this rule. He simply does not know the importance of being on duty in the myriad Thunder Valley. If you want to pursue responsibility, this junior is willing to share half of it with junior brother Xiao. Xiongyang, when you were on duty for the first time, it was your master who personally told you this sect law, right? Fairy Xian Hua asked indifferently. Yes. Tilda Xiongyang was slightly startled, but he still answered honestly. Kui Hongshan, when you were on duty for the first time, it was your master who personally told you this sect law, right? Fairy Xian Hua also asked indifferently. Ah! Yes. Tilda Kui Hongshan was also slightly startled, but looking at Zhua Minghui, who was at a loss, he still answered. This is the first sect law of the myriad Thunder Valley, which is above the other sect laws of the Imperial Thunder Sect. It is something that all disciples of the myriad Thunder Valley must remember in their heart. Fairy Xian Hua said, Master told this disciple the sect law to let this disciple understand the importance of the myriad Thunder Valley. If your master had no choice but to tell this sect law to all of you, and all of you committed a mistake, would you still want your master to bear the responsibility? This. Xiongyang and Kui Hongshan were dumbfounded. They did not dare to nod again. If they really nodded, then even Wu Qi would be implicated. The sect law clearly states that the disciples on duty in the myriad Thunder Valley must bear the responsibility for the changes in the myriad Thunder Valley, but it does not mean that even the master has to bear the responsibility. Our Imperial Thunder Sect is a large sect in the Shi country. We have a complete system of rules and regulations. We will never wrong a good person, and we will never tolerate a bad person. Fairy Xian Hua continued, since Xiongyang admitted that he made a mistake in teaching Xiao Hua a lesson, then he also has to bear the responsibility. Increase the whip punishment by 30. But if you want to share the blame for Xiao Hua, that is absolutely impossible. If this matter were to spread out, it would ruin the reputation of our Imperial Thunder Sect. Yes. Xiongyang bit his lips. He did not know how to respond to Fairy Xian Hua's explanation. -11. Chapter 3056. At this point, Fairy Xian Hua raised her head and said, Junior brother Lei Meng, do you think I'm right? This myriad Thunder Valley is a subordinate of your Thunderous Palace, and these disciples are also disciples of Thunderous Palace. You have to understand this in your heart. If you have any objections, you can raise them now. Senior Sister Xian Hua is right. I have nothing to say. Reverend Lei Meng's voice became softer and softer after several questions. He already understood a lot in his heart, and could only helplessly reply, I still have the same words. Things have changed with the passage of time. The current Imperial Thunder sect is not the Imperial Thunder sect of the past. Some sect laws were extremely suitable in the past, but may not be suitable now. Senior sister, please think more about it. Junior brother Lei Meng, your words may be somewhat reasonable. However, you have to understand, how many sect laws did the founder leave behind? If these sect laws are not followed by us Imperial Thunder sect disciples, then is the Imperial Thunder sect still the Imperial Thunder sect? Who would still remember the founder in their heart? Who would still put the Imperial Thunder sect in their heart? Fairy Xian Hua narrowed her eyes and said without any trace of politeness, moreover, let me ask you, can the Myriad Thunder Valley's Myriad Thunder Tide disappear in an instant? There must have been a warning sign long ago, and it has been there for the past 10 days. Why didn't Xiao Hua discover it even once? Why didn't he report it even once? My Great Thunder Palace's order was for him to stay in seclusion and guard the Myriad Thunder Valley, not just seclusion. Xiao Hua was only in seclusion, and did not assume the responsibility of guarding the Myriad Thunder Valley. If this is not Xiao Hua's negligence, then what is it? Especially, the damage to my Imperial Thunder sect caused by the Myriad Thunder Valley's Myriad Thunder annihilation is unknown to Zhou Minghui, Xiong Kui Hongshan, Xiao Hua, but junior brother Lei Meng, how can you not know? Since it has already caused such serious consequences, can't I punish Xiao Hua according to the sect laws written by the founder himself? Reverend Lei Meng was speechless. Besides, now that the great battle of Dao and Sword has ended, my Dao sect suffered a great defeat, and the fate of tens of thousands of my Imperial Thunder sect disciples is unknown. Do you think Xiao Hua's life is worth the lives of tens of thousands of my Imperial Thunder sect disciples? Even though he's a terrifying phoenix, and even though he's made great contributions in the Dao Sword War, he still has to admit his crimes in front of the Imperial Thunder sect's laws. Not to mention him, even the number one meritorious disciple of my Imperial Thunder sect, junior brother Nameless, has made a mistake here and violated the sect law set by the founder of my Imperial Thunder sect. This old woman will still make him admit his guilt in front of the sect law. If I don't even understand this point and can't even deal with this matter, how can I rack my brains to save the tens of thousands of disciples of the Imperial Thunder sect? Fairy Xian Hua was impassioned. Even if the tens of thousands of disciples of my Imperial Thunder sect return to the mountain, how can this old woman explain to them the reason why the lightning in Myriad Thunder Valley was annihilated? What did they think of the Imperial Thunder sect that they risked their lives to protect? The honor of the Imperial Thunder sect that was defended with blood. Fine Tilda at this moment, not to mention Thunder Meng Daoist, even Xiao Hua was persuaded by Fairy Xian Hua. Actually, the annihilation of 10,000 lightning in Myriad Lightning Valley was Xiao Hua's doing. It was just that he couldn't explain it to everyone. Fairy Xian Hua's punishment couldn't be considered wrong. It was just that this punishment was really too heavy, so heavy that it was unbearable. Moreover, Xiao Hua originally had something to rely on and wanted to reveal his identity as Nameless at the crucial moment to cover up his crime. However, after hearing Fairy Xian Hua's words, this thought was extinguished. Xiao Hua's heart unconsciously turned to ashes. However, after thinking about it again, to first have his soul searched and then be killed, no matter who it was, they would hesitate and resist, right? Xiao Hua began to steal glances outside the Great Thunder Hall. However, just as Xiao Hua's thoughts of fleeing rose, he saw Xiongyang's figure still kneeling on the ground. Alas, senior brother and junior brother Kui are both so responsible. They know in their hearts that this crime is punishable by death. However, they both rushed to plead guilty on my behalf. How can I hastily escape now? Xiao Hua sighed with emotion. If I leave and roam free outside Sky Thunder Peak, what about the disciples of Myriad Thunder Valley? What about Master and Master's wife? They will definitely be punished because of this. Forget it, forget it. Just as Xiao Hua was about to give up, Fairy Xian Hua said again, of course, Myriad Thunder Valley belongs to Shocking Thunder Palace and Xiao Hua is a disciple of Shocking Thunder Palace. I can't not listen to junior brother Lei Meng's word. After all, I'm not the sect master. Moreover, before the sect master went into seclusion, he wanted us to decide the important issues within the sect together. This matter, involves the life and death of the meritorious officials of the great battle of Tao and Sword. I naturally can't be too arbitrary. Hearing this, Lei Meng Daoist's eyes brightened, as if he saw hope. At the same time, hope emerged in the hearts of Xiao Hua and the others. This matter will be decided by the 8 great thunder palaces of my imperial thunder sect. Fairy Xian Hua looked to the left and right. The 8 great thunder palaces will give their opinions. If more than half of them agree, then I will decide on behalf of the sect master. If not, then escort Xiao Hua to Thunder Prison and wait for the sect master to come out of seclusion before making a decision. In addition, since the palace masters of Chenlei Palace and Kanlei Palace are not here, the 2 palace masters will decide together. Good tilde Lei Meng Daoist clapped, his eyes shining. Many thanks senior sister Xian Hua. No need. Fairy Xian Hua said coldly, I've said it before. My imperial thunder sect is a famous sect, and everything has to be done according to the rules. This matter is just me following the rules, so there's no need to thank me. Moreover, on behalf of my Kunlei Palace, regardless of Xiao Hua's military exploits, according to the sect law, I agree to soul search Xiao Hua and execute him immediately. Lei Meng Daoist bit his lips and looked at the palace masters of Chenlei Palace. In a short while, the palace masters of Chenlei Palace unanimously agreed with Fairy Xian Hua's opinion. What about Kanlei Palace? Lei Meng Daoist looked at Kanlei Palace, which also had no palace master. In his heart, Kanlei Palace had no conflict with Xiao Hua and would not make a decision like Chenlei Palace and push Xiao Hua into the abyss. Unfortunately, Kanlei Palace's decision was just as quick. In a short while, they also had an answer. This answer was even more out of Lei Meng Daoist's expectation. All the palace masters of Kanlei Palace also agreed to kill Xiao Hua. His tilde this is bad tilde Lei Meng Daoist sucked in a breath of cold air and said to himself, Didn't Reverend Mi you also fall into Sky Patrol City? I'm afraid these palace masters of Kanlei Palace are venting their anger on Xiao Hua. Now, there were already 3 lightning palaces that wanted to kill Xiao Hua. If one more lightning palace agreed, Lei Meng Daoist did not dare to think further. Fortunately, at this moment, Fairy Shen Feng of Mythical Thunder Palace said, I feel that although Xiao Hua made a mistake, his mistake is not to the point of death. Of course, he can avoid death, but he can't escape punishment. Senior sister Xian Hua, please be magnanimous. I don't agree to kill Xiao Hua. Few tilde Lei Meng Daoist's hanging heart could finally relax a little. He anxiously looked at Lei Tingzi of Xuanlei Palace. Among the 8 palace masters, Lei Tingzi was the palace master who rarely spoke. Whenever he spoke, even Chenlei master would have to think for a moment. Lei Tingzi said indifferently, Senior sister Xian Feng's words are reasonable. Xiao Hua's crime is not to the point of death. Good tilde Lei Meng Daoist almost wanted to clap his hands. Unfortunately, his heart sank again. Because Lei Tingzi continued, but the law of the clan is the law of the clan. In front of the law of the clan, regardless of status or cultivation level, it is what the secular people often say. If a prince commits a crime, he will be punished the same as a commoner. Moreover, this is the law of the clan personally written by the founding ancestor of my imperial thunder sect. I agree with senior sister Xian Hua's opinion. Kill Xiao Hua, uphold the law of the clan, raise morale, and inspire imperial thunder sect. What about Gen Lei Palace? Lei Meng Daoist looked at Gen Yunzi. Disciple will express his opinion first. Without waiting for Gen Yunzi to speak, Dui Jie of Dui Lei Palace hurriedly said, Disciple feels that, although Xiao Hua committed a mistake, it was ultimately unintentional. His cultivation level is shallow, having just reached the middle stage of foundation establishment. Originally, he was barely able to guard Myriad Thunder Valley. With his cultivation level, he might not be able to detect the signs of changes in Myriad Thunder Valley. Therefore, even if he had the heart to be loyal to his duty, he had the heart but was powerless. What's more, the deep relationship between master and disciple in the Myriad Thunder Valley and the deep brotherhood between brothers has moved this disciple's heart even more. Today, even though he clearly knew that he was going to die, he still braced himself and calmly took his place. Isn't this the righteousness that our Imperial Thunder sect usually talks about? Such a righteous person was killed just like that. Not only is it a loss for our Imperial Thunder sect, but it is also a loss for our Dao sect and the Dawn Rain continent. PH. Can Palace Lord Dui's opinion represent the entire Imperial Thunder sect? Qian Fengju of Qian Thunder Palace was also a late-stage golden core cultivator. Although he was not a Palace Lord, he was not too afraid of Dui Jie and said indifferently, Palace Lord Dui, you should speak your opinion. Audacious. When this Palace Lord is speaking, what right do you have to speak? Dui Jie was furious. Palace Lord Qian Fengju, why aren't you apologizing to Palace Lord Dui? Fairy Shen Hua also scolded unhappily. Yes, Palace Lord Dui. Disciple has some resentment in his heart because he thought of the tens of thousands of disciples who died in Sky Patrol City. Disciple spoke rudely because of that. I hope Palace Lord Dui can forgive me. Qian Fengju was afraid of Fairy Shen Hua and hurriedly bowed to apologize. Dui Jie sneered and ignored him. She looked at Lei Tan Immortal and said, Disciple agrees with senior sister Shen Feng's opinion. Xiao Hua should be dealt with lightly. Good tilde both Xiao Hua and Xiong Yang had tears in their eyes. They seemed to have seen the hope of survival. On the contrary, Lei Tan Immortal was not relaxed. He looked at the palace lords of Qian Thunder Palace and Kanlei Palace and frowned slightly as if he was thinking of something. Zhen Yunzi was a little embarrassed. He glanced at Dui Jie and nodded. What Senior Martial Sister Wanfeng and Junior Martial Sister Dui Jie said is reasonable. After all, Xiao Hua didn't do it on purpose. It can even be said that he didn't have any ability to save himself. If we punish him for a serious crime, it would be unfair. I also suggest that Xiao Hua redeem himself by meritorious service and be dealt with lightly. Ha ha ha. Xiao Hua's face did not conceal his joy. Now the situation was 4 against 3. Including Lei Tan Immortal of Qian Thunder Palace who had not spoken, it was definitely a 50-50 chance. According to Fairy Shen Hua, she could not kill him at this time. Instead, she could only send him to Thunder Prison and wait for Master Qian Lei to come out of seclusion. Thinking of what he had done for Imperial Thunder Sect and his identity as a nascent soul nameless, Xiao Hua could already foresee the prospect of Master Qian Lei pardoning him. Naturally, Zhou Minghui, Xiong Yang, and Kui Hongshan were overjoyed. -11. Chapter 3057. However, at this moment, when everyone in Myriad Thunder Valley felt that the outcome was already decided, Thunder Meng Daoist's words threw everyone into the abyss. Xiao Hua. Thunder Meng Daoist asked, I remember you received the Sect Master's special pardon order during the Dao Sword War? Ah, yes. Xiao Hua stared blankly, somewhat puzzled. Do you still have it with you? Thunder Meng Daoist asked kindly. Yes, Xiao Hua said, taking out the Sect Master's special pardon order without hesitation. Good. Seeing the special pardon order, Thunder Meng Daoist relaxed and said loudly, I also agree with Fairy Shen Hua's opinion. Immediately search Xiao Hua's soul and execute him according to the sect's rules. However, since Xiao Hua has the Sect Master's special pardon order, no matter what serious crime, as long as it is not an unforgivable crime, he can be spared. Therefore, I suggest that Xiao Hua be stripped of his identity as a disciple of Imperial Thunder Sect and be expelled from Sky Thunder Peak. What? Not only was Xiao Hua dumbfounded, all the palace masters and hall masters in Great Thunder Palace were also dumbfounded. No one would have thought that, in the end, when Xiao Hua was about to be lightly punished, Thunder Palace's Thunder Meng Daoist, who had always been protecting Xiao Hua, actually pushed Xiao Hua out and suggested that Xiao Hua be expelled from Imperial Thunder Sec. Senior. Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. With Thunder Meng Daoist's betrayal, it was already 5 against 3. There was absolutely no possibility of a comeback. Xiao Hua tilde Thunder Meng Daoist said indifferently, Fairy Shen Hua is right. The sect's rules are the sect's rules. You made a mistake, no matter what excuse you have, it is still a mistake. Since it is a mistake, you have to bear it yourself. The sect's rules are also very clear. The light punishment is crippling your cultivation and expelling you from Imperial Thunder Sect. The heavy punishment is death on the spot. You have the sect master's special pardon order and can avoid the most important punishment, but the lightest punishment is still expulsion from Imperial Thunder Sect. Even if I want to help you, I can't avoid the sect's rules. If we can avoid the sect's rules, how can our Imperial Thunder Sect become a sect? Don't you think so? Tilda Xiao Hua was really speechless. After all, he really did make a mistake. After all, he has to bear this responsibility. Senior Sister Xian Hua, do you agree with what I said? Lei Meng Daoist raised his head and looked at Fairy Xian Hua with indifferent eyes. His eyes also swept across the palace masters of Chenlei Palace and Kanlei Palace. Apparently, Fairy Xian Hua had forgotten that Xiao Hua had received a special pardon from the sect leader. Now that she heard Thunder Tablet Reverend mention it, she understood that with this object, she would not be able to take Xiao Hua's life or even abolish his cultivation base. After pondering for a moment, Fairy Xian Hua nodded and said, "It is rare for Thunder Tablet Reverend to be so selfless as to take the words of the founding ancestor of our Imperial Thunder Sect to heart. If no one else has any objections, then this is the decision." Naturally, there were many palace masters from Chenlei Palace and Kanlei Palace who were unhappy about this, but under the gaze of Reverend Thunder Meng and Fairy Yarofeng, they all shut their mouths obediently. All right. After waiting for a moment, seeing that no one spoke, Fairy Xian Hua opened her mouth and said, "Xiao Hua, a disciple of Thunder Quake Palace's Myriad Thunder Valley, neglected his duty and did not report the abnormality in Myriad Thunder Valley in time. As a result, Myriad Thunder Valley was annihilated and caused a great loss to our Imperial Thunder Sect. According to founding ancestor Chen Yun's instructions, Xiao Hua should be killed on the spot. However, in view of Xiao Hua's outstanding military service in the Great Battle of Dao Sword, the current sect leader Chenlei Master bestowed a special pardon to spare his life and not abolish his cultivation base. The special pardon will be revoked and he will be expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect. Xiao Hua, do you have any objections?" Fairy Xian Hua finished speaking and looked at Xiao Hua. At this moment, Xiao Hua's heart was empty, as if he had suddenly become a child without a home. Everything in front of him was a blur. Hearing Fairy Xian Hua's words, he nodded blankly. He did not know how to answer. "All right, in that case, Xiao Hua, I'll give you 6 hours to say goodbye to your old friends in the Myriad Thunder Valley. All of your spirit stones, elixirs, and cultivation technique jade slips must be left in the Myriad Thunder Valley. When you descend from the Sky Thunder Peak, the patrolling disciples will check your storage pouch. You are not allowed to take anything from the Imperial Thunder Sect out of the Sky Thunder Peak." Fairy Xian Hua said again, "After 6 hours, you will no longer be a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. If you appear in the vicinity of the Sky Thunder Peak, all of the disciples are allowed to kill you." "Yes." Xiao Hua nodded blankly and looked at Zhuo Minghui blankly. Zhuo Minghui's tears flowed down. She covered her mouth with her right hand and sobbed softly, not daring to make a sound. "You can go back and wait," Fairy Xian Hua said indifferently. She seemed a little tired, then turned her head and said, "Palace guards, take away the special pardon from Xiao Hua. In addition, quickly send people to the Sky Patrol City to investigate the news of the Imperial Thunder Sect's disciples." She then looked at Lei Meng Daoist and Zhen Yunzi and said, "Once this matter is over, we need to quickly discuss how to deal with the Sky Patrol City." While speaking, a palace guard came in from outside the Great Thunder Hall, taking away the sect master's special pardon medallion from Xiao Hua's hands. Just as he was about to lead the three of them away, Xiao Hua suddenly thought of something at this moment, asking urgently, "This Xiao has been expelled from the sect, then what about my life spirit tablet?" "Don't worry about it, fellow Daoist Xiao," the palace guard said softly. "Palace master has already given the order." The order to expel disciples was first sent to the Jade Archive Hall. "They will return the life spirit tablet to fellow Daoist Xiao when you leave the Sky Thunder Peak." Xiao Hua nodded slightly and followed the palace guard out of the Great Thunder Hall in a daze. When Zhuo Minghui and the other two accompanied Xiao Hua to the sky and hurriedly flew towards the Myriad Thunder Valley, The palace guard sighed and withdrew his sympathetic gaze. Zhuo Minghui and the rest of the four remained silent for the time it took to smoke a whole pack of cigarettes. Eldest senior brother. Suddenly, Xiao Hua asked as if he was in a dream, little brother. Little brother isn't dreaming, right? However, without waiting for Xiangyang to answer, Xiao Hua said to himself, Ari, all of this really seems like a dream. I really hope that when I return to the Myriad Thunder Valley, this long dream will wake me up. Little brother is still in the Myriad Thunder Valley, and Myriad Thunder is roaring. Oh, no, little brother would rather not go to the Myriad Thunder Valley and stay in the valley to cultivate with Li and the others. Xiangyang and Kui Hongshan looked at each other, not knowing how to answer. Xiao Hua let out a deep breath and squeezed out a smile. He looked at Xiangyang and Kui Hongshan and said, Eldest senior brother, junior brother Kui, thank you so much for just now. This Xiao didn't think that this Myriad Thunder Valley was actually so important that the two of you could still risk your lives. Speaking up to here, Xiao Hua was somewhat choked up and was unable to continue. That's right, this kind of true love, even if they were blood brothers, was nothing more than this. Although they were brothers under the same master, apart from cultivation, short experiences, and short battles, Xiao Hua and the two of them didn't interact for a long time. Even when compared to those so-called sworn brothers who pledged their undying love, Xiao Hua was still greatly moved by the fact that Xiangyang and Kui Hongshan were willing to sacrifice their lives for him under such circumstances. Putting himself in their shoes, Xiao Hua asked himself, under the circumstances of having a child and a lovely wife, Xiao Hua would still be hesitant. How could he be compared to Kui Hongshan's prompt decision? He couldn't be compared to Xiangyang's swift and decisive action. Xiangyang smiled bitterly and said in a low voice, Junior brother Xiao is now the backbone of my Myriad Thunder Valley. With you, there is also my Myriad Thunder Valley. How can this elder brother let you go and accept your punishment? Of course, this elder brother also didn't know that the punishment was actually so heavy. Right now, this elder brother's heart is also panicking. How could Xiao Hua believe Xiangyang's words? Now, he already knew the meaning behind Kui Hongshan's gaze when he left the Myriad Thunder Valley. It was absolute, it was an eternal farewell. Even Kui Hongshan knew the consequences. How could Xiangyang not know? However, the current Xiao Hua didn't want to say anything. After a moment of silence, he opened his mouth again and said, Master's wife, bring me to the place where Master is in seclusion to take a look. No matter what, although this disciple is useless, I am still Master's disciple. Now that this disciple is leaving, it's better to say goodbye to him. Then, he said in self-mockery, fortunately, Master is in seclusion now. Out of sight, out of mind. If he was here today, he would definitely kill this useless disciple of mine on the spot, right? Zhuo Minghui had been enduring all this while, but at this time, she couldn't hold it in anymore. Tears flowed down her cheeks as she grabbed Xiao Hua's hand and hugged his head in her arms. She cried, Child, you are the most capable disciple of my Myriad Thunder Valley. Although your master has always blamed you, you also know his suffering. He is resentful that you don't live up to his expectations. Don't blame him. No matter if he beat or scolded you, it's for your own good. That day when he heard that you and Hongshan died at Jingquan Mountain, you didn't know his sorrow. It was precisely because of this that he went into seclusion. It was because he wanted to avenge the two of you after he reached Jindan. The reason why he couldn't come out of seclusion for so long, it was because of this knot in his heart. It was because he felt that he had let you down. Even when you became his disciple, he didn't teach you much. Boom! Zhuo Minghui's words struck Xiao Hua like a bolt of lightning. That's right, he never understood why he couldn't come out of seclusion for more than 10 years, and Zhuo Minghui never said anything. Wasn't it because of his and Kui Hongshan's deaths? Wasn't this not in his heart the natural moat that caused him to helplessly condense his Jindan? Mistress! Xiao Hua cried, if it wasn't for this disciple being too willful, junior martial brother Kui wouldn't have encountered such danger, and master wouldn't have gone into seclusion like this. This disciple also wouldn't have fallen to such a state. That's right, some things, some people, although very important to you, you might not necessarily pay attention to them. Perhaps these things have already accompanied you for several years, or even several decades, but you have never paid attention to them. Because you feel that they are there. Regardless of whether you look at them or not, they will always love you and protect you. But once you lose them, you will realize that once you lose them, your life will immediately become inferior, immediately become dim, and only when you lose them, will you know their position in your heart. -11. Chapter 3058. Helplessness went into seclusion. This was something Xiao Hua knew the moment he returned to the Imperial Thunder Sect. However, Xiao Hua had never thought of going to the place where helplessness went into seclusion to pay him a visit. Perhaps it was because he was rather busy. He went straight to Great Thunder Hall as soon as he returned, and before he could finish telling Xiongzhili and the others about the great battle of Dao and Sword, he was forced to leave the Imperial Thunder Sect. When he returned from the Imperial Thunder Sect, he immediately went to the Thunder Arena with the Heavenly Thunder Palace disciples without resting in his abode. A few days after the Thunder Arena, he merely gave Wu Qing and the others some pointers in their cultivation, and was immediately punished by Great Thunder Hall to go into seclusion. This seclusion was once again annihilated by lightning, and today, he was expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect by Great Thunder Hall. All these things were connected one by one, like a violent storm. However, did Xiao Hua not have time to go to the place where helplessness went into seclusion to pay him a visit? It was only within the Imperial Thunder Sect, near the Myriad Thunder Valley, so how far could it be? An hour should be enough, right? How could Xiao Hua not have this hour of free time? At worst, Xiao Hua could at least ask where helplessness went into seclusion, right? However, Xiao Hua did not do any of these. It was only now, with only 6 hours left, that he thought of his most important master in the Imperial Thunder Sect. It was not that Xiao Hua did not think of it, but that there was a kind of resistance in his heart, a kind of fear, unwilling to see this master who often lectured him. Xiao Hua was no longer young, and had long passed the age of believing in tears, but when Zhuo Minghui called him child, he could not hold back his tears. Master's wife. Kui Hongshan's eyes were also red, and he said in a low voice, "Second senior brother, there are only 6 hours left. Although Master's seclusion is in the Myriad Thunder Valley, it's not close." "You." "Right." Zhuo Minghui wiped her tears, nodding. "Xiong return to the Myriad Thunder Valley first, and tell Qing Lian and the others about this. Xiao Hua probably won't have time to return to the Myriad Thunder Valley. Pack up his things, take everything that should be taken. Leave it with you first. In addition, have Wu Qing and the others go to Sky Thunder Peak. We'll send Xiao Hua out. There's also Xue, Zun Shu." Kui Hongshan reminded her in a low voice. "No need." Xiao Hua hurriedly. "Xue should be in seclusion. Don't disturb her." "Zun Shu." "It's only 6 hours, she won't be able to make it to Sky Thunder Peak." When he spoke up to hear, Xiao Hua clapped his hands and took out 2 jade bottles. He passed them to Kui Hongshan and said, "These are for Martial Uncle Zhen Qing from Zhenlei Palace. Take it and send it to him when you have the time. Apart from Master, Martial Uncle Zhen Qing has shown me great kindness." "Yes, I understand." Kui Hongshan took it and reminded, "Senior brother, give me the storage bag as well." "I'll give it to senior brother when we leave Sky Thunder Peak." "No need." Xiao Hua waves his hand, "There's nothing in this storage bag of yours." "That's right, eldest senior brother, you don't have to pack my things. Little brother will leave that immortal's cave to Li Er." "How can that be?" Xiong said anxiously. "Now, everything in the Myriad Thunder Valley is yours. This is all your reward. Now that you're all alone, or to put it bluntly, you're a rogue cultivator. These spirit stones and other items are exactly what you need. Ha ha ha." Xiao Hua cracked a smile. "Even if little brother is a rogue cultivator, I'm still the rogue cultivator with the highest cultivation. What do these spirit stones count for? As long as little brother wants them, I can get them at any time." "Hehe, that's true." Kui Hongshan couldn't help but say, "With senior brother's cultivation, even the most famous rogue cultivator in the country of Shi, Elder 100 Zhong, can't compare to senior brother, right? Go quickly." Zhuo Minghui waves her hand and says, Xiao Hua doesn't need them now. If you need them in the future, send me a message at any time. Although he's no longer a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect, the Myriad Thunder Valley will always be his home. Yes, disciple understands. Xiangyang didn't dare to say anything more and hurriedly flew away. Zhuo Minghui and Kui Hongshan took Xiao Hua to another place. After another hour, they arrived at a mountain ridge not too close to the Myriad Thunder Valley. It was a place where the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was dense. The mountain forest was quiet, with the crisp cries of immortal birds. Xiao Hua scanned it with his divine sense and understood that it was a good place for him to go into seclusion and condense his core. Over there, Kui Hongshan pointed at a low cliff. Needless to say, it was a concealment illusory formation. Xiao Hua flew to this place and stared straight at the illusory formation. After the time it took to make a cup of tea, he landed on the opposite side of the cliff and knelt on the ground. He firmly kowtowed 3 times and said in a low voice, "Master, disciple is unfilial. In the Dao Sword Great Battle, disciple admittedly gained a lot of face for you, but I also brought great trouble to the Myriad Thunder Valley. Now, disciple even brought a calamity to the Myriad Thunder Valley. Disciple was expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect by the Great Thunder Palace. I'm afraid that in Master's eyes, disciple is also an eternal scar. After Master comes out of seclusion, don't be angry. Just treat it as if you've never taken in disciple." Sai Tilda at the side, Zhuo Minghui sighed. She could practically already imagine Master's rage upon hearing that Xiao Hua was expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect after helplessly coming out of seclusion. Wang! Suddenly, a faint rumbling sound came from the distant illusory formation. Bit by bit, a pressure was released from the illusory formation. Bit by bit, a hurricane appeared out of thin air. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the surrounding several dozen li all gathered towards the cliff. Even the white clouds above the illusory formation that had scattered willow catkins earlier were now torn to shreds by an indescribable fluctuation. Master has condensed her core. Kui Hongshan cried out in extreme pleasant surprise. That's right. Xiao Hua's face also carried joy. However, he once again looked at the crystal that was slowly growing from the illusory formation, which was even smaller than a thumb. Not only was this crystal small, it was also growing slowly and expanding even slower. It was far from Xiao Hua's surging state. Xue Xue is truly a godly person. Zhuo Minghui was practically clapping her hands. She said that she would definitely come out of seclusion before the end of the year. It really is so. Master's wife Tilda Xiao Hua looked at the situation and said indifferently, however, it seems that Master will still need some time to condense her core. If it's not 10 days, it'll still be 20 days. Disciple is afraid that I won't be able to see Master come out of seclusion. Alas. Zhuo Minghui sighed helplessly. Since Master has condensed her core, Master's wife can just wait here. Xiao Hua forced a smile and said, "Eldest senior brother and senior sister are over at Myriad Thunder Valley. You don't need to go over." "How can that be?" Zhuo Minghui immediately waved her hand and said, "Your master has already begun to condense her core. Even if there are any mishaps, this old woman can't help. And this time will be this old woman's last time. Even if I see you again in the future, you won't be this old woman's legitimate disciple anymore. Master's wife, don't worry," Xiao Hua said with a smile, "no matter what, you will always be this disciple's master's wife. Even if this disciple condenses his core or reaches nascent soul, the way I address you will definitely not change, and the respect I will definitely not decrease. Master condensing her core here is the hope of my Myriad Thunder Valley. If you don't stay here, how can it be done? Let's go, this old woman will send you off." Zhuo Minghui didn't wait for him to finish speaking and flew up resolutely. "If I didn't bring you here today, this old woman wouldn't have known that he would condense his core. And looking at this situation, the core condensation has just begun. As you said, it will definitely not be completed without more than 10 days, so it's useless for this old woman to stay here." "Oh, right, Xiao Hua, how did you know that your master needs more than 10 days to condense his core?" "Yes, Xiao Hua's cultivation level is only at the middle stage of foundation establishment. How could he know the details of core condensation?" But before Xiao Hua could speak, Master's wife, second senior brother, Kui Hongshan could only remind them again, there's still some time to go to Sky Thunder Peak. Let's hurry over, okay? Let's go, Master's wife. Xiao Hua took the opportunity to fly up. Shocking Thunder Peak has calculated the time extremely well, it simply doesn't allow this disciple to stop for even a moment. Hurrying to Sky Thunder Peak, the familiar mountain gate was right in front of them. The number of disciples on duty in the nearby sky increased again, and their cultivation levels were much higher than usual. In addition to disciples in the 11th or 12th layer of aura refining, there were some early-stage foundation establishment disciples, and even some late-stage foundation establishment masters occasionally appeared in the cloud. As Xiao Hua and the others flew past, they didn't know how many divine senses scanned them, and their vigilance was obvious. Seeing this scene, Xiao Hua sighed and gradually understood the consequences of his annihilation of the myriad Thunder Valley. But the problem was that Xiao Hua himself was also very wrongly accused. Until now, he still didn't know what the thing that fell into his space was, how it got close to him, and how it fell into his space. Foster father. An anxious voice came from Xiao Hua's ears. It was Xiong Zhili's voice. Please wait a moment, the boy and the others are all here, flying slowly. Xiao Hua smiled and released his Buddhist awareness, already seeing the disciples of the myriad Thunder Valley chasing behind him. He said, Master's wife, I'm afraid there's still enough time, let's fly slowly. Eldest senior brother and the others are leading aura refining disciples, they may not be as fast as us. Okay. Zhua Minghui naturally also released her divine sense, but unfortunately, she couldn't find any trace of Xiong and the others. She didn't understand how Xiao Hua knew that Xiong hadn't arrived at Sky Thunder Peak, and she also didn't know that Xiong Zhili had a divine ability that she didn't know about. Sure enough, when Xiao Hua and the others slowly flew to Sky Thunder Peak, Xiong arrived with all the disciples of the myriad Thunder Valley. Without waiting for the others to speak, Xiong Zhili hurriedly said, Foster father, with your battle achievements and cultivation, the position of Imperial Thunder Sect's head will be yours in the future. Why did they expel you from the Imperial Thunder Sect? The boy heard from father, it's just a cliché, an old rule of the myriad Thunder Valley. Those kinds of rules are for people to break. There were many disciples on duty at Sky Thunder Peak, so Xiong Zhili's words immediately attracted everyone's attention. Nonsense. Who would dare to claim to be the Imperial Thunder Sect's head in the future? This was probably the first time in their lives that they heard it. When everyone's eyes fell on Xiao Hua and saw that he was only at the middle stage of the Foundation establishment realm, they all sneered. Naturally, the thought of this person doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth appeared in their mind. Of course, many people knew Xiao Hua, so when they heard that such a meritorious person like Xiao Hua was expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect, they were greatly surprised. -11. Chapter 3059. Li-Er. Xiao Hua forced a smile and stopped him. How can a person's life be smooth? If it's not at the bottom of the valley, then it's at the peak of the valley. Foster father made a mistake today and is already willing to admit it. Presumably, you also know that being expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect alive is already the best outcome. But, Xiong Zhili argued, my myriad Thunder Valley isn't as important as before. There's no need to argue about this matter at this time. Xiao Hua shook his head. In the Great Thunder Palace, your father and even Thunder Meng Daoist argued with reason, but they couldn't convince the masses. What's the use of you talking about it? Moreover, Li-Er, this matter may not be a bad thing for foster father. It's only because you and your family are in myriad Thunder Valley that foster father is concerned. Sigh tilde boy knows. Xiong Zhili sighed. In the end, my myriad Thunder Valley and my Imperial Thunder Sect aren't places that foster father and other hidden dragons can occupy. Foster father is also absolutely not a fish in a pond. When foster father transforms into a dragon in the 9 heavens, that will be the time for Great Thunder Palace to regret. Chimpage. Before Xiao Hua could open his mouth to express his modesty, several late-stage Foundation establishment disciples had already flashed out from the clouds and sneered. They stood straight not far from the crowd, clearly having already heard the news of Xiao Hua being expelled from the Imperial Thunder Sect. Mph. Xiong Zhili also sneered, looking somewhat provocatively at these people. No need to pay attention to them. Xiao Hua laughed. Dragons will eventually soar into the 9 heavens. Those who aren't dragons will never know the pride of dragons. Junior brother Xiao. Yang Qinglian flew up, biting her lips and bowing. Others don't know how good you are, but Xiong and I are grateful. Even now, we still have the friendship of martial brothers. Please accept our family's thanks. At this time, Xiong Zhili was extremely obedient. He hurried to Xiong and Yang Qinglian's side and bowed respectfully. Yes, if not for Xiao Hua, how could Xiong and Yang Qinglian break through to late-stage foundation establishment? If not for Xiao Hua, how could Xiong Zhili come about? How could Xiong family of 3 escape from the blood seal? After Xiong finished his greeting, Kui Hongshan and Dui Chimeng also stepped forward. At this time, Kui Ingying didn't know what was going on. She placed her small white finger in her mouth and shyly hid in Dui Chimeng's embrace, revealing half an eye to look at Xiao Hua. If eldest senior brother wants to thank senior brother, then the 2 of us must thank senior brother even more. Kui Hongshan looked at Xiao Hua and said, previously, this younger brother did not understand senior apprentice brother's good intentions, and even went against senior apprentice brother. The battle between the sword and the Dao made me realize that I was a frog in a well. If it wasn't for you, I would have died on the battlefield. How could I have held the dual cultivation ceremony with Chimeng? Where would Ingying be? Second senior brother, please accept a bow from me and my family. As he spoke, Kui Hongshan, Dui Chimeng, and Kui Ingying, whose head was pressed down by Dui Chimeng, knelt down. That's right, if it wasn't for Xiao Hua, Kui Hongshan and Dui Chimeng would have died at Foul Crow Mountain and wouldn't have been able to reach Sky Patrol City. If it wasn't for Xiao Hua, Kui Hongshan wouldn't have been able to escape from the battle at Quanjin Mountain and Dui Chimeng wouldn't have been able to escape from Tu Hongji's vicious hands. How could the clouds disperse and the sky clear, and the 2 of them finally get married? How could they advance to the middle stage of the foundation establishment realm in Xiao Hua's hands? This younger brother also thanks second senior brother for his kindness. Immediately after, Wu Qing also stepped forward. Although his face was still indifferent, he also bowed respectfully. That's right, if it wasn't for Xiao Hua, where would the lightning core come from? Where would Wu Qing come from? As for the lightning core in Wu Qing's body, the current Wu Qing probably still didn't know its true power, right? We thank Martial Uncle for his kindness in teaching us. Without waiting for Wu Qing to get up, Zhen Quan and the others knelt down again. That's right, if it wasn't for Xiao Hua, they wouldn't have entered the Myriad Thunder Valley, and they wouldn't have been able to meet Xiao Hua. Currently, the cultivation conditions in the Myriad Thunder Valley should be the best in the entire Imperial Thunder Sec. As for Xiao Hua's previous teachings, it had even pointed out a brand new realm for their cultivation. This kind of influence was the same as Wu Qing's and Kui Ingying's lightning pellets. Only when they understood it in the future, would they know how precious it was. At this time, there were already quite a few disciples on Sky Thunder Peak. Most of them were disciples on guard duty at the mountain gate. They were somewhat dumbstruck. Although there weren't many disciples in the Myriad Thunder Valley, except for Zhuo Minghui, who was at the Gold Core realm, who stood somewhat dejectedly to the side, the other disciples all bowed and thanked Xiao Hua, who was at the middle stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. In particular, everyone's faces were filled with respect, and their expressions weren't fake. They really couldn't imagine that an ordinary disciple could actually make so many contributions to the Myriad Thunder Valley. Xiao Hua wasn't being polite now. This was the respect he deserved. In particular, although they were still old friends and their feelings were still the same, their status had an essential difference. Martial Uncle Xiao. In the distance, a panting voice sounded again. When Xiao Hua raised his head, he saw that it was Zhen Hua, who was at the Foundation Establishment realm. Oh! Xiao Hua raised his brows. He didn't expect Zhen Hua to make it in time. Disciple, just happened to have some business at Jade Archive Hall. Zhen Hua's face was somewhat red, obviously caused by urging his magic power. When I heard about Martial Uncle, I immediately rushed here. Fortunately, I was able to catch up with Martial Uncle. As he spoke, Zhenhua also bowed and said, "Disciple, we'll never forget Martial Uncle's great kindness. In the future, if Martial Uncle needs anything, please don't hesitate to ask. As long as it doesn't affect my Imperial Thunder Sect, Disciple will die 10,000 times without hesitation." If the disciples of the Myriad Thunder Valley had bowed and thanked Xiao Hua, the disciples on duty at Sky Thunder Peak would have been surprised. However, this Foundation establishment disciple of the Thunderous Palace actually called himself a disciple, thanked Xiao Hua, and called him Martial Uncle. This made them astonished. They knew that if it wasn't for the great kindness, ordinary Foundation establishment disciples would have their own dignity. Cultivators of the same realm, who weren't particularly close to each other, would all have to call each other senior martial brother. Now, this disciple actually still called him Martial Uncle. Obviously, his kindness was extremely great. "Get up." Xiao Hua waved his hand. He looked at the distant horizon and said with a smile, "The disciples of Jade Archive Hall should also be here, right? This Xiao's natal tablet is still in their hands. I don't think it'll be so fast." Zhenhua said with a smile, "Jade Archive Hall received news that our Dao sect suffered a great defeat at Sky Patrol City. They're currently sorting out the natal tablets of the tens of thousands of disciples who fell in Sky Patrol City." "Oh!" Xiao Hua raised his eyebrows. "The Thunderous Palace only gave me 6 hours, and it's almost time now." As he spoke, a divine sense swept over, and then a voice familiar to Xiao Hua sounded, "Xiao Hua." Alas, that voice seemed to want to say something but stopped, and it even seemed to be extremely regretful. In the distant horizon, a golden core cultivator flew over at lightning speed. Who else could it be but Zhen Qing? Ha ha! Seeing Zhen Qing come, Xiao Hua smiled and greeted her with a bow. "Martial Uncle, we meet again." Alas, Xiao Hua. Zhen Qing opened her mouth but didn't know what to say. "You! How did you get into such a big trouble? This disciple deserves it." Xiao Hua smiled bitterly. This was indeed his mood. Then, Xiao Hua turned to Kui Hongshan and said, "Junior brother Kui, give those 2 jade bottles to Martial Uncle Zhen." "Yes." Kui Hongshan stepped forward and respectfully handed the jade bottle containing the pills to Zhen Qing. Zhen Qing understood Xiao Hua's meaning. He knew that Xiao Hua was introducing Kui Hongshan to him so that he could watch over him in the future. Thus, he looked at Kui Hongshan and nodded. However, he didn't understand why Xiao Hua gave him the jade bottle. When he saw the pills in the jade bottle, he was even more puzzled. "This is?" Zhen Qing asked in a low voice. At this moment, Xiao Hua naturally didn't have any misgivings. He transmitted a few words in a low voice. He didn't say much, only saying Sun Qian's name and what he encountered outside Tongmu City. Hearing this, Zhen Qing's expression changed greatly. She looked at Xiao Hua with bright eyes and shouted, "Are you telling the truth? How could this disciple deceive Martial Uncle?" Xiao Hua said with a smile, "This is a spiritual pill that this disciple obtained by chance. It might be useful. However, Martial Uncle, please don't reveal this disciple's name, otherwise, this disciple's life will be at risk." Xiao Hua. Zhen Qing bit her lips. She didn't know what to say. Then, she bowed and said, "This old man, thanks. Don't." Xiao Hua hurriedly stretched out his hand and stopped Zhen Qing. He smiled and said, "Martial Uncle, quickly hand over this disciple's natal spirit tablet. It's almost time." Zhen Qing felt that Xiao Hua's spiritual power was surging and didn't seem to be inferior to her. She was already surprised. However, after hearing Xiao Hua's words, she didn't care about anything else. She clapped her hands and took out Xiao Hua's natal spirit tablet. She handed it to Xiao Hua and said, "Xiao Hua, this old man represents the Jade Archive Hall to return this natal spirit tablet to you. From now on, you have nothing to do with the Imperial Thunder Sect. No matter what you do outside the Imperial Thunder Sect, you can't consider yourself as a disciple of the Imperial Thunder Sect. Otherwise, the Imperial Thunder Sect won't be so kind. We will definitely send disciples to kill you on the spot. Yes, This Xiao understands. Xiao Hua impatiently took the life spirit tablet, then channeled his energy and grabbed it. Wang. A strong golden light flashed, and everyone's eyes were dazzled. Xiao Hua had already absorbed the drop of blood essence into his body, and in an instant, the jade slip turned into powder and disappeared into the air, not leaving behind a single trace. After destroying the natal spirit tablet, Xiao Hua finally let out a breath of relief. Xiao Hua. Zhen Qing was shocked. How do you know how to destroy the natal spirit tablet? This old man hasn't told you yet. That's right. According to the old rules, after Zhen Qing finished speaking, she would have to give the method to destroy the natal spirit tablet to Xiao Hua. With Xiao Hua's cultivation at the middle stage of the foundation establishment realm, she would have to spend a lot of effort to destroy the natal spirit tablet. Hehe, this disciple already knew. Xiao Hua laughed. He clapped his hands again and took out his token and gave it to Zhen Qing. Martial uncle, do you want to take back this token as well? Of course. Zhen Qing nodded. Also, it seems like you haven't taken back the tokens from the Imperial Thunder Sect. All right. Xiao Hua flipped his hand again. There really was a token. There were even numbers written on it. It was the token from the small house in the Imperial Thunder Sect. Xiao Hua seemed to have never used it after entering the Imperial Thunder Sect. Martial uncle, please keep it well. Xiao Hua gave everything to Zhen Qing and said, is there anything else? 11. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.